Hey everybody, we love having great advertisers support our show, but in order to continue doing that, we need your help. So please go to podsurvey.com/test and take a quick anonymous survey that'll help us get to know you a little better. That way we can show our advertisers how great our listeners are, and even if you've taken our show's podcast listener survey before, the current one is new and different, so I'd really love for you to take it all again. Plus, once you've completed the survey, you can enter to win a $100 Amazon gift card. Again, that's podsurvey.com/test, T-E-S-T. Thanks for your help, and now on with the show. For Thursday, March 2nd, 2017, welcome to This Is Only a Test, the official podcast of Tested.com.
Right.
Look at that fucking squirrel on my bird feeder.
And then suddenly, the Enterprise D's bridge.
Oh, hey, we didn't see you there. Will Smith, special guest of the podcast, co-founder of Tested, alum of This Is Only a Test. Hey, everybody, it's Will. What up?
Jeremy Williams, you played my special song. You do this every week now just to haunt
It
Norm, I'm
only
sure.
gets played when you are here, my friend.
Wow, I have a theme song.
We have 3 versions of the intro, and
Fancy.
that is by far my least favorite one.
For so many reasons.
Whatever happened to that fucking squirrel on that bird feeder?
We had to
probably
move.
dead.
We moved the bird feeder 4 feet further from the fence so that he couldn't jump 6 feet from the fence to the bird feeder. And he ate shit a couple of times, and then everything was cool.
Wow.
Jeremy Williams, you look worried.
Talking to the Ars Technica.
I know.
I-
That's something that Will
How's
used to
that?
say.
Is that better?
Hey,
Yeah.
everybody. Thanks for joining us for this special GDC edition of This Is Only a Test. We have a 4-cast this week. What podcast has 4 people on it? That's crazy. I'm Norm, of course. And, of course, Will is back this week. And we have our 2 usual co-hosts, Jeremy Williams.
Hello, hello.
Happy birthday.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
Kishore Hari.
It's your birthday?
It was.
It was 2 days ago.
You're old.
3 days ago.
I had a great
Every
birthday.
day.
I spent my whole birthday at Oculus.
Yeah.
It was great.
Monday was Jeremy's official birthday.
Oh.
I got the Facebook notification as I was getting coffee. And
Do you-
I wished him a happy birthday.
Do you guys do the face like? Sometimes I feel like I should say, "Hey, Facebook told me to tell you happy birthday."
Nope, I just don't do it.
Yeah,
Don't do it.
I like Patrick Klepek's
know.
old theory
Yep.
of if you don't care enough to say happy birthday on somebody's timeline, you should probably just not be friends with them
Guess
anymore.
what? I just don't say happy birthday to anyone
Wow.
except my wife, and then that's it.
Do you say happy? Do you social media happy birthday your wife?
Yes.
I used to do that to my wife, and then she was like, "I kind of don't like that because I get a lot of like randos."
I don't like
Twittering
these. I don't
me."
like these arbitrary rules that if I don't wish someone happy birthday, I shouldn't be their friend. I care in other ways, Will.
You're just a maverick.
I
Norm.
care in so many other ways.
Just a
Okay,
maverick.
all right. How's everyone doing this week?
No, I'm kind of entertained. I hope you guys still talk. I kind of want to just sit back.
We did something special for my birthday.
We did.
We did. So 3 days before my birthday, I
Yeah.
invited all 3 of you guys, along with some other brains, to an escape room here in San Francisco.
We made it out. We're here today.
Almost all of you made it out.
Yeah,
If
sorry.
all of you had made it out, maybe we would have won.
Yeah,
Oh,
we-
made
we
it
were-
out
we
to
were a few
the
brains
escape
short.
room. Got it.
Kishore.
Kishore
Yeah.
wasn't there.
You know, when you add more people to escape rooms, it usually makes it worse.
No.
Well, we were 3 down from the max, so
Oh.
we could have used one more maybe.
You know, we talked about it on Still Entitled a bit, but one thing we didn't get into was a lot of just the nitty gritty of the social dynamic. And people listening to that podcast might not know how we all interact, but like we were there with our significant others. When we were getting set up, Jeremy, you brought some pinball friends that
Yep.
we had just met. There was a poster on the lobby, and it said 32 minutes.
And it was labeled today.
Today.
Has
Like
it?
someone earlier, a
Yeah.
team earlier that day.
That was
had
the
beat
record?
The room,
Yeah.
and the record was 32 minutes.
And you have an hour.
And you have a full hour. The other thing we didn't talk about and Still Entitled is just how into it the people who set up the show are.
Yeah, they're in character.
They're in character. There's a guy, he was wearing like a gamer t-shirt.
Yeah.
He was right out of like Freaks and Geeks. He did this thing early on where I don't know if I could
You
best
should not.
recreate it.
You should be careful what you share.
It was very entertaining.
Yeah.
It helped us get into
lot,
the mood.
For a lot of us, it was our first escape room.
It was.
And not winning. We were close. And we did very well. That's the thing, is that we were split up. There were all kinds of puzzles to solve, from math to spatial, just to discovery or to crossword. It was all over the map. We were on fire. We went in there, Will having done escape rooms before more than anybody. You were just immediately directing and making sure that we hit the ground running, which was crucial.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's also how Will is.
And yet we didn't win
I tend
it.
to field marshal.
Well, the way it was broken up to multiple stages, I thought there were many points, and maybe that's how it was designed. Many points where I thought we were at the end. That's it. That's the last puzzle.
Yeah.
And suddenly they tell you, oh, that's just stage one.
Was it a
Here's stage two?
Was it a multi-room thing too?
without
different
spoiling.
No
places?
spoilers. No
Yeah.
spoil. But it was. Dude, I could not be more on the microphone. It's a common trope, right? The multiple stages, and that you unlock different sequences and levels of the puzzle and all that.
So as everyone here plays video games, we all played Zelda. We all love, like, when you're playing a puzzle game, there are escape room video games, but most video games, adventure games, they're kind of thematically the same. They require you to think a little bit outside the box. But when we're playing a video game, we know the constraints of the world. The fact that there are going to be limits to the physics engine. There are things we can look for clues and textures and the geometry of the world. In the real world, it's infinite possibilities. The limitations are different. We know that, okay, they can't, take the ground away from us. They can't
Right.
They
turn
can.
off gravity. And there are some physical real-world limitations, but there's many fewer limitations than there are in the games because of the very fact that every surface can be a clue, and they have infinite resolution in the real world.
But you know that the room is designed, so you know that either things are in there with intent or they're red herrings, one or the other.
Yeah.
And
This is like being a good test taker.
Yeah.
Like they had to design in some way. It's not multiple choice, but we know, okay, if a puzzle is going to be on that wall, like it's going to be within confines. We're supposed to stare at that wall and think until we solve it.
For me, my two favorite parts of the escape rooms are always that opening, that first moment when you walk into the room and you're looking around and you're trying to figure out where the puzzles are and which pieces go with which other pieces. And so the room that we did was really great at that. I've been at some that are intentionally vague about which pieces go with which puzzles, and those are super fun because then
Those are hard. I've
Yeah.
done those give me nightmares.
it's hard to jam that into an hour. Is my experience.
And they had to give you the right amount of clues. Like the moment the briefing starts, everything can be a clue. Just that, and that's in that sense, it was very much like a video game where you had they had a script and they had you knew that everything was designed.
And there was somebody in the room with us from the staff.
Oh,
who-
really?
who
I don't like those.
Well,
I actually
no,
like
I-
it where they're watching you.
I think that's a necessary way to help smooth the playing field. So,
Yeah.
because you can't replay these. There's no point in replaying
Well,
it.
there are people that design escape rooms that are replayable.
Well, this one was not.
This one
I
is
mean,
definitely not.
I would imagine that you go back in there, you solve it almost immediately.
Yeah.
So having the staff member in there allows them to push you towards a solution because they don't really want you to lose because they know that they want you to have a positive experience so that you'll come back and do another one.
So I will tell you, I like the ones where there's the voice of God, where you have a certain amount of hints, because the argument amongst the players about whether it's time to get a hint is one of the most entertaining things ever.
Oh, okay.
I
see.
play usually about
Like
a
a-
half
like a-
dozen escape rooms a year.
Is it
Wow.
like
I do a lot of them, and my favorite one is in Las Vegas. And if I will put a link to the show notes because it's designed for the three of you. There is this video game component in one of my favorite ones, in this science themed one, which was just amazing. Basically, you guys would be done in about 30 seconds.
I mean, having a curator,
That sounds fun.
because the people running the escape room, it's only one room. They're focused on us, like the three people running the show. One person's in the room with us. They're on comms with people outside the room to activate things, to let them know about our progress. And so I like that, having that person in the room. It was a little bit reassuring. They would definitely point us and tell us, okay, you're absolutely, that is just a real world thing that you're not supposed to break off the wall. You're not supposed to turn this thing over because, yes, it looks like it's just part of the building.
It's good to have people there to keep you from going off on crazy tangents.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is easy to do.
But
Have you ever tried to break? I've accidentally broke something in one of the rooms once.
like
Oh, I'm
tore
usually
something
pretty
off the
respectful.
wall or
No, because
disassembled furniture?
Like, a lot of the rooms are like everything is in play. You can't really
Yeah.
break anything. And I got obsessed with this one where there's an oscilloscope in the room, and I took apart the entire oscilloscope,
my
and
God.
and they had to come over the comms and were like, "Sir."
Don't try to distract me from the clue. I know you mean you hit something in here.
Step away from the oscilloscope.
But there was one puzzle, without giving away that puzzle, there's one puzzle that we did not solve, that we got by, but the way to overcome that puzzle was a very video game thing to do, was to bypass it, was to really think outside the box. And a lot of great video games, like maybe the
Well, it's kind of Metal Gear-y, right? Like there's a lot of that in older Metal Gear games where you have to figure out a workaround that is completely outside the normal rules of the game.
I guess going into it, I was thinking it would be a lot like the Jonathan Blow game.
Like we're just standing there looking at a bunch of grids and moving things around.
And like aligning things, and there were some elements of that, and I was really satisfied by that. But I think that's like kind of the pinnacle of puzzle design, and to have something like that in the real world would be intense.
So there's I've had interesting. It's GDC week, and we've been talking about The Witness because it's still fresh in a lot of people's minds. And there's a school of thought that The Witness is kind of bad puzzle design because it doesn't present you with unique problems that your brain like. There's two types of puzzles, right? And the types of puzzles I really react positively to are ones that are that my brain has never before experienced, right? So there's a game called Gun House where you have like a sliding tile puzzle, but it's not the traditional sliding tile puzzle. It's about getting the appropriate stacks and dumping off the trash on the side. And it was something I'd never encountered before, and I was captivated by it. The Witness, because there's a really deliberate progression through each puzzle type, you kind of never get that moment because the steps are very gradual along the way.
But I like that. I like that you have to call back to certain things. It's what I like about Portal.
Yeah. It's a perfectly valid approach. Just to be clear, it's like these are both valid approaches. It's just some people like one kind and some people like the other. And there's actually been some research that shows that certain people's brains like the novel problem, and some people like the progression on the non-novel problem.
I know
Did
some
you
people are
finish?
going to wonder what escape room this is. This was the escape from the puzzle room
It's a scrap puzzle,
in
right?
Japantown, San Francisco.
Yeah, the New People building.
Yeah.
On that, on The Witness, there's some great podcasts Jonathan Blow has done.
Oh, really?
About that. My favorite is with Adam Conover from Adam Ruins Everything, where they talk for like an hour just about the puzzle design in Witness.
I will go find that because that game is I haven't finished it yet. Like I don't do
Me neither.
I don't cheat on those games. So I got stuck on a puzzle at the top of the mountain and sat there for like 9 months just kind of picking at it once or twice a week for all of last year. And finally figured it out the other day.
As people who've done a bunch of escape rooms, what's the most mechanically interesting thing an escape room has done? Like a prefab, custom built thing that you know, to make it feel like not just off the shelf puzzle design.
So my friend Sandy, who made the one that I talked about, that's an escape room inside a briefcase on Still Untitled this week. I think it's called Creatures. If you ever have a chance to do it, I'd highly recommend it. But he actually uses a Carvey and a Glowforge because he works in the Cards Against Humanity co-working space, and he uses some of the equipment there to build these really custom puzzles that are customized for each of the briefcases, and it's mechanically really interesting. Kishore, did you do the one in Japan, in Chinatown a few years ago? The witches den one.
No, I've actually never done one here in San Francisco.
Yeah. So that one was good, and it had some really neat Arduino powered stuff that I don't want to talk about because I think they still run it in Seattle.
You had an opportunity on Friday.
Okay, Jeremy is mad at me.
I'm mad that we lost. I honestly, I walked out of that not having a good experience. But
Don't worry, Jeremy.
But
I'm gonna wish
so
you
frustrated. I wanted to do it again that day.
I got you. I'm gonna wish you happy birthday on Facebook.
What do you mean you wish it could have been redone?
It was just this sense of I can't do anything in my life. It's like when you have a coding problem and you try to go to sleep and you haven't solved it yet.
But they gave us the answer, so there was no going back.
But I didn't feel that sense of fulfillment.
I felt like it was a personal failure on all your parts that you disappointed me. Really.
Do they have multiple rooms?
Those
Can't-
folks do multiples. They're doing the
Yeah.
Zelda one.
Yeah.
They have one that's tied to that Zero Time Dilemma game for 3DS, and a couple. And they also do the big ones. They did that big one that was in Pac Bell or AT&T Park.
Yeah, with a couple thousand people.
Wow,
We
that sounds big.
and that was
huge.
based on the anime Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
It was. We were, to be clear, we were like 3 minutes away from getting out of the room. We were very, very,
don't
know.
very close.
5.
3 to 5 minutes.
It depends on it.
If we had a faster start, we would have done it.
Yeah.
That's the reflection always.
And
If
I-
only we got a faster
They
start.
told us we started out really fast, that we solved one of those problems faster than
We
anybody.
solved one of the hard
and,
puzzles really
and I
fast.
think that's why they let us slide a little bit. I think otherwise they would have pushed us a little quicker. They probably assumed we were going to solve it.
Yeah. The
All right, we've covered this a
yeah.
lot.
Okay. Move along.
All right, anything else happening before we jump into our next segment?
It's GDC week.
Oh, we're getting to GDC.
We're getting to
Hold
GDC.
on.
We got segments here. All right, let's just jump to anything happening in your life, Will? Any big updates?
The first episode of the Foo Show is in closed beta right now. We're doing testing. We have like one outstanding crash bug, and there's a couple of weird things that we want to fix, and a couple of things we need to polish up. And if we weren't at GDC this week, we would probably be releasing it like today or tomorrow. But it'll be out for Kickstarter backers very soon. And if you're not a backer, you'll be able to buy it at the same time it's out.
In both Steam VR.
So we're releasing the Steam VR version first. Everybody who's a Kickstarter backer will get both Steam VR and Oculus Home keys because we're just going to give them everyone gets everything. The Steam VR version will work with Oculus Touch, Oculus with a gamepad, Vive with hands, Vive with a gamepad. If somebody I don't know why you would want to do that, but if you want to, you can. And then the 2D client will probably come shortly after that stuff, and then Oculus Home will follow both of those.
That's cool. 2D client's going to reach a lot of people who don't have VR.
So the 2D client is actually almost exactly what we used to shoot that Adult Swim, the pigskin predictions, the predictions with the pigskin wizard. With
I
the
loved
Y,
your
W,
description
and
of
two Ys.
spelling wizard.
Yeah, it's a WYYZARD for some reason.
I also realize you don't have the show notes in front of you. You also peep Oreos. Someone put that in the show notes for Will to talk about.
Oh, I just saw somebody talking about peep Oreos on Twitter, and holy hell. Like late stage capitalism is at work, guys. How many?
Oh, I'm
how
putting
many,
a recipe in the show notes.
how many
gross.
peeps do you have to murder to get one peep Oreo? That's what I want to know.
Is it a marshmallow filling? Is it an actual different
I think it's-
consistency?
I don't like it.
I think it's the Norm already knows. I think it's just the normal filling that's vanilla flavored, more vanilla.
Who wanted that? You know?
No one
That's
wanted
a
No,
that.
dip.
I'm making this. No,
No-
let's
no one
like I'm
wanted
gonna
that.
make one
This is a bad
next
idea.
week. I'll use Girl Scout cookies instead of
Oh, don't sacrifice
Oreos.
Girl
Yeah,
Scout
no.
Do you guys watch the Oscars?
Yeah.
You know what? That seems perfect for pop culture news.
Wow. Wow. That was an amazing segue, guys. I just want to say, like, this since you got rid of the dead weight around here, you really up your game in a high. Like the music cue was right on. Norm's, it was A+. I would watch that every time.
All right. So on Sunday night, we had the 86th annual Oscars.
It was the one with Jimmy Kimmel.
It was they've been running these for a long time.
The
Jimmy Kimmel hosted.
final Oscars.
Maybe, yeah. And it really made live television compelling again.
Holy hell.
It's so good.
Or live streaming.
My wife had fallen asleep with my son in the back, and I went and I woke her up, and I was like, "You have to watch this."
So, going into the Oscars, you have all these articles and people do their pools, and I think it really was up in the air whether Moonlight would win or La La Land, and especially the Golden Globes perfectly splitting those things apart because their best picture is split into musical/comedy, Hello the Martian, and then also drama, and Moonlight won for drama, and La La Land won for musical for comedy. Perfect split. So going in, you had it's very political. Because it's all people like there's the popularity, there's the backlash, there's lobbying, people buy ads in newspapers, on websites, and so and of course PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, who does the accounting, all that is held secret. Only two people know, and so I think as a telecast.
Are those the envelope holders?
Those are both the envelope holders and the ballot collectors. It's one of the biggest accounting firms. They've been doing it forever. 80
No, but I
years.
mean the two people that are standing on the side of the stage are the
those
only ones
are
that
the only
know?
two people that know.
Wow.
And it was, as it turned out, one of those two people, one of the high executives at PwC, that screwed up and handed up a backup envelope to Warren Beatty
for Best Supporting Actress.
He handed out the Best Supporting Actress
Best
envelope.
lead actress.
Or best
Best
actress in a leading
Look,
role.
we even can't get it right.
Yeah,
Right.
And
But hey, we're not getting PwC money.
But
and-
some people may actually not know about this.
right. So what
Spoilers, by the
happened
way.
was as they rolled it to the final category, Oscars went long. It's the last thing, Best Picture. You had Best Director, Damien Chazelle from La La Land won. La La Land was looking great. Best Supporting Actor, Moonlight won. But you had the Best Song, no EGOT for Lin-Manuel Miranda because the La La Land song won, even though they had two songs nominated for Best Song, and
That
people
never
thought they were going to
happens.
split the
Yeah.
vote. And going up to Best Picture, Warren Beatty, Faye Dunaway from Bonnie and Clyde to celebrate the 50th anniversary of that movie coming out, went on stage, and Warren Beatty took the envelope, stared at it,
Looked in the envelope.
looked in the envelope
Again.
to make sure there wasn't a second sheet,
Right.
and then Faye Dunaway said, "What are you doing? Just say it."
Yeah.
And he passes the buck
Right.
onto Faye Dunaway.
Wow.
She takes it, glances at it, and says, "La La Land." People cheer. The producers come up for La La Land. Ryan Gosling's on stage. Twitter explodes and is furious.
They start giving their acceptance speech.
The acceptance speech is on, but
Like some of them finished.
so
their
I didn't. I wasn't
acceptance
watching this on
speeches.
TV. I was on multi-screen.
Okay.
And Twitter was like, okay, clearly this is Hollywood in love with itself
Crash
again.
2.
Yeah.
Like everyone had their tweets ready about
Everyone
yes.
had their tweets ready. That is the best description of 2017 yet.
and then my Twitter feed. Everyone experienced it a little differently, but on my Twitter feed, it was like maybe 15 seconds ahead of the live stream on ABC, and there was a wait what, a lot of wait whats.
Yeah.
Wait, comma what?
Well, when you saw all the guys with like headsets walking on
Right.
the stage, you were like, something's not right.
Well, and when I saw the wait what tweets, I thought, okay, like I already those 2.5 minutes
Yeah.
into the after Faye Dunaway said La La Land, 2.5 minutes into it, I'd gone through all the emotions.
Yeah.
I'd been resigned to, okay, La La Land won. This is the world we live in.
You didn't like La La Land.
I thought it was good.
it was okay.
I didn't think it was fantastic.
Has anyone
I
seen
thought
both of them?
No, I mean,
I've only seen Moonlight.
I heard it's really good. I don't go see movies anymore.
And then you had
for sure.
producers of the Oscars show themselves in tuxes with, like Will said, the comm systems
Yeah.
on stage, kind of shuffling the back, looking very concerned. And the tweets made me think someone said something inappropriate, like, oh, something offensive.
No,
is
they
gonna
would have just
happen.
faded to black and rolled
Oh,
out.
something bad was happening, and then the producer of La La Land went to the mic and said, "Wait, no, Moonlight won. This is not a joke. Moonlight, you guys won."
And he held up this card,
he held
which
up
is
the
the
card.
important thing.
And I bet that was the evidence that the producers gave to him.
He grabbed it out of Warren Beatty's hands.
No, it wasn't
No,
Warren.
no, it was-
he grabbed it out of
he had a
the
separate
producers.
card.
Yeah. Well,
Warren Beatty held on to the mistake card.
Yeah.
Because he explained himself. Well, I opened it and it said Emma Stone La La Land, and Warren Beatty afterward apparently did not let anyone touch that card and went straight to the Mr. Oscar, like
Yeah.
whoever runs the show,
Yeah.
and said, "This is proof,
not my fault.
not my fault."
Yeah.
And Emma Stone afterward in the press conference said, "Well, I was holding my card, which Best Actress
So
she
it
won.
was a backup.
So it was a backup
So
card."
so as we are all now experts on the mechanics of the Oscar card handing process, they have one person on each side because actors can enter and the presenters can enter from either side of the stage. So they have two sets of cards, one on each side, and the PwC person apparently chucked the Best Picture card when he should have chucked the Best Actress card.
How does that happen?
Well, I mean, they've done it 86 times, and this is the first mistake
You
they've
have
made.
one job. It's Best Picture.
I actually don't think it's that big of a deal. I actually thought Jimmy
Are you
Kimmel.
kidding?
No, I mean,
It's so shitty for the people who
it's
made Moonlight-
Yeah,
Moonlight.
so I think that's actually the important thing. Like,
Yeah.
is that I want to say Jimmy Kimmel was actually kind of great about it on stage.
I don't think so. He didn't know
I
what to
thought-
say. Any
I
better than
think he
anybody
was
else
trying
did.
to
Yeah.
deflate the situation.
Did you hear the sound clip of Warren Beatty saying, "I think you guys should keep it"?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I thought Jimmy Kimmel said that.
No, I think it was
I
Warren
thought that was
Beatty.
Jimmy Kimmel.
I think
he
it
made a
was
joke,
Kimmel,
and what's Michael Horowitz? I think maybe the producer for La La Land said, here's the shitty thing. We've now spent 15 minutes talking about this whole thing, and we should be
Instead of
talking about
Moonlight.
Moonlight.
Yeah.
That's
the
shitty thing of the whole deal.
Because Moonlight is this incredibly important film in terms of, like, when you watch it, you can just you go through all of these stages. It's not entirely rewatchable in the same way a lot of heavy films are, but it's an important piece of art. And that's the shame here, is because winning an Oscar usually does that. It's like all these other people are going to go see it.
Well, it's getting a wider release this weekend, so it's back in theaters. So people should definitely go out and watch it. What did you guys think about that bit with the people on the tour bus?
Oh, I thought
didn't watch
it
that
went on
show.
a bit too long.
Leading up to it, I was like bracing for a train wreck and a cringe, and then I
I don't know.
all
found
right.
it quite
But
charming.
you gotta wonder how real any of that was.
Wow, Jerry.
It felt
was real.
believable
You
to
didn't
me.
look like the cynical type.
Just knowing that every single talk show is completely pre-planned and scripted, and this is the Oscars.
And they had to sign releases, I bet.
Well, they probably just signed the normal tour release. Like if we accidentally murder you, your family won't be able to take
Actually,
us.
they just probably had a super long EULA, and at the bottom was like, "You may be on the Oscars."
Yeah.
The woman's name was Jewelry.
my experience of
Rhyme with jewelry.
my experience of the flub at the end was interesting because I was watching the stream on my iPad, and I didn't watch any film up for Best Picture. I had no dog in this race. I didn't care.
You haven't seen Arrival yet.
Haven't seen nothing.
Wow.
So I just watched. I saw the announcement that La La Land won, and I turned off the iPad. Suddenly,
Wow.
Twitter starts to blow up. I'm like, dudes, chill out. It's just La La Land. It won. Yeah, you're upset about it.
Yeah.
But
At least it was better than Crash.
that wasn't why they were upset about it. So then I had to find the clip. I couldn't believe that I missed the best part. So I had to search frantically for the clip of what had happened, and it wasn't that easy to find.
When the clips that were online immediately after were all cut down in weird ways, so
Yes.
it's hard to tell exactly what happened.
I wanted to see the whole train wreck.
Andy
Raw
Anako was
dog.
recording it on DVR and put up the clip shortly after. So if you'd followed him on Twitter,
Good for Andy.
he
I
posted,
saw that one.
he posted the clip. They also had the behind the scenes angle. I think ABC had like a backstage, and this thing happening in real time. I mean, it's why this type of live television can sometimes be compelling. And I wish there was a better segue to talk about the new live TV that Google is going to roll out. But we're going to get to that in the tech section.
Well, hold on, I wanted to say I loved that instead of doing the big long opening number where they normally like do the bad parodies of the movies,
right. Billy Crystal.
Justin Timberlake just came out and sang the song from Trolls.
That was great.
And ran through the theater, and everybody was dancing, and it was
Norm-
great. It was a good opening.
Wait, Norm. Trolls is great.
I haven't seen it.
Trolls is incredible.
You and your special lady friend should come over to the house. You can watch Trolls with my daughter, and
I have
you
Trolls
guys-
too.
yeah.
You can come over anytime.
It's great.
I've been trying to convince Norm to watch Trolls for a month.
Look, Gina took the kid to see Trolls in December at the Dollar Movie Theater in Palo Alto or Stanford or something, and I was like, "Why are you bringing this garbage into our life?" And they both came back singing songs, and she was like, "That movie was really good." And I was like, "You are out of your mind."
I don't believe you.
And then it came out on DVD 3 weeks ago, approximately 65 watchings ago, and that is a fine film.
Is it
a
like
fine
good? Is
children's
it fine?
film.
Like Shrek is fine?
No, Shrek is garbage. It's like Kung Fu Panda 3 fine. It's.
No
I
one
think
saw
it's-
that either.
It's probably the best DreamWorks film.
Really?
It's up there with WAG films.
What?
It's
And
not. It's not better than How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, because that's a good one.
That's the
I
best
actually
DreamWorks
haven't seen
film.
How to Train Your Dragon.
No, that's true. How to Train Your Dragon is better.
The animation is really good. They do.
This is uplifting in a time of darkness.
Yeah, it's about finding happiness inside and not by eating things.
I saw Storks instead.
Storks is hot
That's a
garbage.
mistake.
Kelsey Grammer should be ashamed of himself.
Was it Kelsey Grammer?
Yeah, he was the boss stork.
Oh wow!
I watched Norm of the North. Don't watch that either.
I wish I watched that before I went to the Arctic.
Sing was okay. Last year, kids' movies that were okay.
Wow.
Zootopia, Moana, Sing.
Yeah, how about Zootopia beating out both Moana and
Kubo.
and Kubo in 2 strings?
Kubo.
I knew it. I called that one because I knew Zootopia would resonate better.
Nobody saw Kubo was the problem.
Yeah,
Kubo's
Kubo was my
amazing.
favorite film of last year.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, films coming out this year. We had a
Piper
couple
one.
new movie trailers. We have the new Guardians of the Galaxy 2 trailer just out yesterday, and this has the first appearance. Next 30 seconds, minor spoilers. So just mute if you don't care about the Guardians of the
Oh,
Galaxy.
we can talk about it. We can just
you
we can talk about it this way.
Does that have
I'm
Squirrel
Groot.
Girl?
I'm
I am
Groot.
I am Groot. Oh, I am Groot.
Yeah.
I am Groot. too.
Spoiler. I am Groot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They revealed a new cast member, and
Yeah, saw that.
yeah, it was very cool.
Yeah, it's good.
I think the writing.
No idea what
You
you're
don't
just
know.
in the
You don't know
trailer-
what that reveal
Okay,
means.
We're not going to say anything about the details, but I thought the writing really should the choice lines they chose for the trailer showed that the writing is still up to snuff. Like they had really funny lines just in the trailer.
Okay.
And that movie's going to make gangbuster money because I think people love Chris Pratt, people love Guardians of the Galaxy, and people love Baby Groot.
That first Guardians of the Galaxy trailer is one of the better Marvel trailers
Wait, for 2 or for the original?
for the original.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if it's the first Guardians, but the trailer that I saw for the first Guardians of the Galaxy is spectacular. It has the music, it has the umba chaka, the whole thing. It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a tough movie to sell. The first one, it was a
Yeah.
tough movie to sell because people just didn't know who these characters were. And it was really
The ending is the best ending of any Marvel movie too.
Wow.
Climactic
we also
scene.
had a new Alien Covenant trailer, not just the prologue. The new trailer came out, and it's interesting because the trailer has clips of the prologue, but the prologue, I don't believe, is in the film. It was actually directed by Ridley Scott's son, Luke Scott. But it's a really good trailer, and it shows some xenomorphs
And wheat.
and wheat, scary wheat, ominous wheat.
Not watching trailers has been good for me.
Can I make a quick Inception question about the Oscars?
Sure.
Is Jungle Book deserving of the Best Special Effects Award when compared to Doctor Strange and Rogue One?
I didn't see Doctor Strange.
Oh, Doctor Strange, I feel, is the high bar for special effects. I was blown away.
I feel like Rogue One was the high bar for special effects.
I just think
last
like
year.
the CG in Doctor Strange, I didn't think you could do that.
Are you talking about the buildings especially?
Yeah. All that world warping stuff, which is like constant, that seems so expensive to me.
So Rogue One wasn't going to win because Tarkin and Leia were really divisive.
No,
That's true.
I get that.
Yeah.
No,
Get that,
that's
yep.
fair. But I haven't seen Jungle Book, and,
And
now I'm
Jungle
like,
Book's pretty amazing.
Is it
so
great?
so maybe
it's like up there with Jumanji.
let's put it this
Like,
way.
no, I mean in terms of Favreau effects movies,
Yeah.
it's pretty good.
okay.
Like, I agree with you that conceptually the special effects in Doctor Strange were unbelievable, but technically, was that just a matter of algorithms and having the original idea, like the Inception idea of folding cities into themselves, or the Jungle Book? A lot of that seemed like hard work of animation.
It was
animation and
Like
effects work,
Life
right?
of Pi kind of stuff.
and just like
And it's seamless.
I don't
Is
know
it?
that.
You can't tell. Like
Really?
I thought Kubo should have been in that category too, frankly, because there's stop motion and then there's effects. And when you watch the making of reels for that, you can't. It's
can't tell.
unbelievable.
and
where
that's one of the
scenes
reasons
are.
why I didn't like Kubo as much as a lot of people did.
Because it didn't feel like a stop motion
because
movie.
it didn't feel like a stop motion movie. It didn't wear its own sleeve.
I don't know. Speaking of for Doctor Strange, that final fight scene, the
Yeah.
choreography of that and the effects that went into that, I think are hard to deny.
Yeah. I'm actually asking genuinely. I'm not making a contest. I haven't seen Jungle Book.
Is
But-
that out on? I have the disc. You can borrow
out,
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of that technology is going to be adapted for Lion King, which Jon Favreau is directing, and who's playing? Is it Donald Glover playing young Simba? I believe, and James Earl Jones coming back as Mufasa.
Isn't Donald Glover a little old for young Simba?
Maybe teenage Simba. I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah.
he's like 30.
Well, Jonathan Taylor Thomas is a little old for Simba these days.
Fair.
Is
Fair.
Billy Crystal coming back?
What did Billy? He played
What?
Timon
Yeah.
or Pumbaa or something?
No, he was one of those.
He was
like
the bird?
the jackal. You know the you know.
He was the jackal.
No, not the jackal. No,
The
that was the
hyena?
bad guy. No. You know the Hakuna Matata.
Was he the orangutan or was he the bird?
Timon.
You actually remember that character name?
Timon and Pumbaa.
This was a formative movie for Norm.
Look at that.
Yeah, early
Probably the
90s.
first Disney movie he ever saw.
Warthog and Little Mermaid.
I was with somebody the other day who was born after the Little Mermaid, and I was like, oh, I don't want to be your friend anymore.
Wow. All right. Last bit of pop culture news. We have the new Lego Ideas set announced, and it does fit with the theme of this year. It's going to be the women of NASA.
Oh, I thought it might be the Oval Office.
Oh.
Yeah. Inception, Katherine Johnson at the Oscars was
That was cool.
amazing.
Yeah.
Watching her, she's 98. Was up on stage. That was awesome.
And
So-
she was brought out by an astronaut.
Oh, and there was a second astronaut, the Iranian
Yes,
astronaut,
yes.
that also spoke. And
Yes.
seeing her get a standing O was pretty fantastic. The women NASA set looks cool.
It's
it
more-
has a little mini space shuttle.
So this is interesting because they had scientists, women scientists, as a previous Lego Ideas, and those are
Yeah.
tiny little dioramas of like a paleontologist, a chemist. This they haven't shown what the final set would look like. Just thematically, it's going to be the women of NASA, and the pitch was like this plaque with minifigs and a NASA logo and names. I hope that what they'll actually do is make little dioramas like the last one, showing them at work and what they actually did at NASA.
Have they ever done a Saturn V? Have they done like old rockets? I know they did Space Shuttle and stuff like that.
I cannot say anything.
Oh.
Well, one day you will hope that the men of NASA will get their day in the spotlight.
So
Send your tweets to @JRWare.
Wow.
Jareware.
Still under consideration for people who submit. So the way Lego Ideas works is people create custom designs, they submit them, and then when they reach, I believe, it's more than 10,000 votes now. They up the floor for that. They go through a review process, and they do it every quarter or every half year. And they said that there was the second half of 2016 Lego review results. Women of NASA won. Still up for consideration. They're still figuring it out. Voltron.
Oh yeah,
It has not been denied yet.
yeah.
I mean,
like
there's
Still
a
reviewing.
series. The Netflix series is on,
So they can
so
get the
there's
license.
a reason to license it.
Mhm. But unfortunately, designs that got enough votes but Lego turned down included the Addams Family Mansion, a Lego Observatory, a Spaceballs Eagle 5. We'll never get that.
Is that
Eagle
Luke Speeder?
5
Land Speeder.
Is Eagle 5 the Winnebago?
It's the
or-
Winnebago.
Oh.
I know. I would have wanted that as a really.
I would have
Winnebago
bought that
looks cool.
There's no mass market appeal there. And
Sorry, Mark.
a modular construction site, which also looked cool. Up for review in summer of 2017. All right.
Mm-hmm.
It's 12 different sets. You have what looks awesome, like a Volkswagen Golf GTI Mark 1, a ship in a bottle. I would love
Ship in a bottle looks
ship in
awesome.
a bottle would be
Where do
amazing.
you see these?
They're right there. You're looking
These are 2016.
You scroll down a little bit.
No, that's them.
That's them.
Okay.
Ooh, the UCS,
Veronica? Is that Veronica?
the Iron Giant, up for review.
Yeah, that looks big.
The UCS Ray Speeder. Now, I
Eh.
know they did a Ray Speeder, but this would be a UCS version. I don't know.
Eh.
And then, of course, the thing that I think everyone wants to be a set, but may be too expensive, the Hulkbuster UCS would be really cool.
What's the hut on the top left?
The boat repair shop, which looks gorgeous as a diorama, but I don't know if Lego, I mean, that doesn't have any mass market appeal. That's more for like Lego architecture connoisseurs.
The ship in a bottle is amazing.
I think ship in a
looking.
bottle would be
Yeah.
a really nice
Well,
one
how
for
does
them
that?
to do.
Wait, how does that
It's
work?
clear bricks.
Is the bottle of bricks too?
The bottle's bricks.
That's
all- it's
sick.
a
So
Lego,
you
it's
wouldn't
all
need
bricks.
to build it like that would be a challenge though for you to build the bottle first.
There's no way you could put the Lego
No way
together
you
inside.
do that.
Challenge accepted.
I can't wait for this
I would
video.
love to do
You
it.
need to get the world's best ship model.
Come on, you would
builder.
need glue. You would just need like
Yeah, but you can't get the force to push the bricks down without exploding the whole thing.
you just need a special tool.
What are you talking about?
You leave a tiny hole in the top so you can have a pusher rod that can come down.
It's all about angles.
cheating.
You use a vacuum pump to suck the Lego down onto it.
Oh my goodness!
Onto
All
its
right,
main.
that does it for. Let's get.
Oh wait,
some-
we have an
wait,
update.
wait.
Nathan Lane voiced Timon in
Oh,
The Lion
not
King.
Billy Crystal.
There's no Billy Crystal?
No,
I
Billy
made that up?
Crystal in The Lion
You made
King.
it
No,
up.
I guess that's just Monsters Inc.
All right.
Sorry, I failed. What are we going to, tech?
Yes. You know, while we were reminiscing about the 90s, something that was massive in the 90s I used a lot was AOL Instant Messenger. AIM.
Yeah.
Not that Will Smith.
Yeah.
Oh, I was Quiche
Well, you-
bothers me.
like you didn't
That
embrace
sounds
it.
right. Yeah.
It took a while for you to actually embrace the quiche.
Oh, no. I think it was that he was saying he's bothering
Yeah.
you.
So when you got a message, it would say Quiche bothers me, and know what I was
Oh,
saying.
very clever.
Yeah.
Very clever.
Not a fan then, I guess.
Well, AOL
No, but-
Instant Messenger, I mean, arguably one of the best things that came out of AOL. It's still people still use it. I still have, or I think we all still have our screen names. And for the longest time, you could access your AOL Instant Messenger account through their API called Oscar.
Yeah.
appropriately.
I used Pigeon for a long time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of March, they're going to be deactivating Oscar, so no more third-party access to
What?
AOL Instant Messenger.
Is that even legal?
You can only access AIM with the default AIM app. Now, unless they're going to launch their own Pigeon-like client, they'll let you tap into Google Hangouts. and other services, I think this is the death bell for AIM,
I have it on my phone. That's the only place I use AIM anymore. And
the actual AIM app.
Yeah, only 3 people ever AIM me.
Really? You still
Yeah.
use it though? Like this year, you've
I
gotten
have-
a name instant message?
Well, with Pigeon, it doesn't matter.
I might not have signed up when I got a new phone.
I
last
haven't
fall.
gotten an instant message in like a year.
Well, because I have it in the DM and Pigeon, it just blends in with my other chat services like Google Hangouts. I don't even know what is through AIM.
See,
and
it's
what's
all
not
it's all
anymore.
text messaging now.
I can't handle this kind of news. Next week you're gonna tell me ICQ is going down, and my
112-9645.
436-06-777.
You guys are so sad.
The last AIM I got was 8 months ago.
Yeah, see,
Wow.
We used to use it a lot, even in the early days of like Whale Rock and Tested.
Yeah, now there's Slack.
Yeah, Slack's so much better.
Holy smokes. All right. Let's talk about GDC.
Goodness.
Let's talk about the Game Developers Conference.
Yeah. I gave a talk.
Yeah, so GDC officially the show floor opens up when we're recording this on Wednesday, but ahead of, and it's panels and talks all week, but now they've allocated the first couple days of GDC to what they call VRDC, the Virtual Reality Developers Conference.
Well, there's
And
other-
Will,
yeah.
you participated and gave a talk there.
Yeah,
What was it about?
We talked about why we like procedural animation, which is what we use to make Foo, and kind of lessons we learned in the first year and change of running a VR company, not like financial or business stuff, but like how we evolved the tool and stuff like that. And I think that talk will definitely be on the GDC Vault at some point, and maybe on YouTube if they like it. I don't know how they decide what goes on YouTube and what stays on the Vault. But if you have a Vault Pass, which I think, like if you're interested in learning how games are made, a GDC Vault Pass is a really good way to get a lot of the experience of going to GDC without spending thousands of dollars coming to San Francisco.
The travel is very expensive. But also the networking in person is a big part of the value.
I mean, in reality, at GDC, as a game developer, which is for all intents and purposes what I am, I spend a lot of time talking to people. Not really, and I go to sessions if I have a moment. But,
How long was your talk?
30 minutes.
Did you do rehearsals at home?
I did it with Andre, my lead dev. And he came in on Sunday night, and we had basically sketched the whole thing out, and I had put art together for the whole thing. And then on Sunday afternoon, we spent Sunday afternoon, Sunday night working on the logistics of like the actual mechanics of the talk. And,
Live demos on stage or anything?
we didn't do any live demos. The setup and takedown time is not enough to like set up a Vive and have it be reliable and be confident that it's going to work. So we didn't try to do a live demo this time. Maybe next year when we're more confident in the Oculus version of our recording client, which is it's brand new and we haven't really used it a whole lot yet. But yeah, so then we did a live demo at the Upload VR party on Monday night, which was fun.
Oh, very cool.
But that was a little bit easier because all I had to bring to that was a thumb drive. You know, turns out the Upload VR folks have a really cool mixed reality studio set up in their
I met
office
some of those
now.
people. Yeah.
Yeah,
And they do
Oz
live
and
streams on
Will.
Facebook.
Yeah, it's really it's what they put together a really cool thing. Like they have a Ronin that's tracked, so they can do mixed reality with a gimbal mounted SLR that's wirelessly connected to their. It was neat.
And they have the Vive, of course. They put a Vive controller.
So they put a Vive controller on
Yeah.
it, so they can track the camera position and the virtual camera position and line them all up and all that stuff.
So much of GDC for us is about virtual reality. We're going to save a lot of that talk for an extended VR minute, which is going to complement the new episode of Projections. We're just going to get that advertisement out there. The episode is live as of 4 minutes ago as we're recording this.
What's Projection Storm?
It's a new a show about virtual reality and augmented reality and the technologies that are going to put us in new computing platforms that Jeremy and I are hosting.
It's like a long form show, like 3 hours long.
It's about between 30 and 40 minutes long.
Oh,
Wow, that's too. Nobody watches a video that long on the internet.
that's very digestible.
Thanks to Patrick for the first comment on the Projections Episode 2 video.
Oh, all right.
Hello back.
Yeah, things are happening in real time right now. Thank goodness the internet is still up, though, because internet was down yesterday, at least a large portion of it. A lot of people don't know data centers where websites are hosted, and even Dropbox as a service. Dropbox doesn't have its own servers. They buy server storage space and processing space from companies like Amazon or Google. And Amazon has AWS, which is their big hosting service. It's a huge part of their business, a really smart thing they invested in. Unfortunately, AWS was basically down for most of yesterday morning.
And you know what my favorite part about this is? You know what else was hosted on S3 on AWS? Was the status page for AWS.
And when you went to the status page, it was green lights all the way down. They didn't even report
Well,
themselves down.
Also, is it down or is it just me? Like that site, the down for me, down for you, whatever that one is.
Yeah.
That was down,
Right?
which is really funny, I think. So, the story of how S3 got created, right?
No.
How AWS got created, rather. So Bezos, years ago in the early 2000s, said, hey, we're not going to run Amazon, the e-commerce site, on bare metal machines and data centers anymore. We're going to run it off of an API, and you all have a finite period of time. I think it was 6 months, but it may have been a year, to move everything that Amazon does on the web, which is, even at that time, 15 years ago, was a huge, huge, huge undertaking, off of the metal servers, the servers and racks, onto API level access. So, and it turns out to have been an absolutely brilliant thing to do, because it meant that they could scale effortlessly, right? The scaling was independent of the hardware that they had, and they could scale hardware or capabilities independently of each other. And then they also have this massive business that they can sell server time, and it's like they have it's way more than just S3 and EC2 now. When you look at what AWS does, they have database servers, they have servers that are storage that's designed to be written to frequently. They have S3, which is basically buckets that you can download from, which is what Dropbox uses mostly. It's really neat.
I must have the breakfast octopus.
You always try it. You wanted to try it.
Yes.
Meh.
That's the story of why Jeff Bezos bought Woot.
It wasn't because
Amazon
of
owns
the Woot monkey?
Yeah.
Yeah, Amazon owns Woot IMDb.
Mm-hmm.
It's because and the Woot owner asked him why did you buy Woot? How does this change? How does this fit into your Amazon business? And they were having breakfast. He was having breakfast with Jeff Bezos, and Jeff Bezos was, look at this menu.
After the sale.
You see this there's breakfast octopus on this menu. I've never had breakfast octopus. I must have the breakfast octopus.
And that was an analogy for why he wanted Woot?
Yeah.
He told him, you are the breakfast
You are
octopus.
the breakfast octopus. I must have, because I do not own it.
He didn't understand it.
I don't understand it.
And the easiest way for him to understand it is just to buy it.
That's when you slowly walk away.
Well, it was too late. He'd already sold the company at that point. He does meh now.
Oh, really?
The Woot guy. Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about this on Still Entitled, but it bears repeating, especially on this podcast. There is legislation that's going through state legislatures, I want to say, in 5 different states right now for right to repair. And the legislation hasn't gotten very far because there's a lot of lobbying against the idea. So what lawmakers are trying to pass on our behalf is is mandating technology companies and consumer electronic companies to allow third-party repair shops and independent users to get access to OEM hardware and components to repair the electronics that they've bought, and also provide information transparency about how to get into the software to run diagnostics, for example. It's a movement we believe in. Anyone who's broken their phone or has tried to take apart and people, we take apart our phones. Everyone here has taken apart a phone, but it's unfortunately cheaper now to go into like an Apple store to get your phone repaired and your screen repaired, because they have the monopoly, because it's so expensive to buy the replacement screen itself.
We talked about this on Still Entitled, and I am still of two minds about compelling companies to sell stuff that they don't necessarily want to sell. But on the other hand, like, you should be able to go to the Apple store and buy the parts that you need for a reasonable cost if you want to replace your iPhone screen.
What's the point? Is this a big revenue stream for Apple, repairs? Is that why they don't want to sell to third parties? Or do they not want to sell these parties in order to just to keep their hardware close to their chest and not let people hack into it?
It seems like a little of column A, a little of column B. I don't think repairs. I think Apple Care is probably a greater than single-digit line item on their iPhone business. I don't think that the repairs are that big. And if you look at the decisions they make, like the reason they made the iPhone 7 waterproof and arguably part of the 6S series as well is because those water damage repairs, dropping your phone in the toilet happens an awful lot.
Yeah.
So if you can prevent that from destroying your phone, then that saves them money on repairs and means that AppleCare is more profitable and things like that.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know what the impetus is that they don't want to have to deal with bungled repairs at the Apple
Maybe
Store,
it's just the
probably.
partnerships.
There's also
Maybe
proprietary information. They feel like it's going to be unfair to compel them to release schematics and release
That's what I mean.
information, and that's which is
Well,
they consider proprietary.
and I do kind of feel like it's unfair to like if the legislation is, hey, other people should be able to manufacture the parts, that seems weird to me.
Oh yeah.
But if it's, hey, you have to be able to buy the parts instead of just have them go and pay labor, like why should I pay labor ever? I can replace a screen in about 15 minutes.
If you, to pick up on what you said on Still Entitled, if you walked in the Apple store and they said, we're going to sell you a license to a phone,
Yeah.
if they were just honest about it,
Yeah.
about what it is, would that change your purchasing behavior?
I'm on the iPhone upgrade plan right now. I mean, I don't give money to AT&T for phones anymore. I just pay $40 a month forever, it seems like. Because realistically, like I never sell old phones. I'm bad about that. So I would go buy a new phone every year and then be stuck with, I have a drawer full of old busted phones or old working phones that I don't use anymore.
Hey, what's the right age for a child to get a phone?
Like 20, 22.
All right. What about you, Kishore? What do you think?
I don't
Depends
know.
what phone.
I'm 39, and I think my phone should be taken away from me.
Well, if it's a Nokia 3130 or 3310, then maybe middle school.
What? What? Middle
That's
school?
or high school. Let's say high school.
When did you get a phone, Norm?
Well, they didn't have cell phones until I was in late middle school.
I
High
get
school.
They had cell phones when you were before.
They
that.
didn't
were
have
just-
the Nokia 3310 until I was in high school.
Okay,
Wait,
So
that's coming back?
it's coming back.
that's gonna go well.
So at Mobile World Congress, also, which happened this week, we had a bunch of new phones. LG G6 on the high end announced new BlackBerry phones, but also a new Nokia entry-level phone, which it looks like the old one. It is inspired by the old design, but it's not just a rebrand of the old design. Has new screens, color screen, has a new version of Snake on it. It's not a smartphone. So you have a limited number of contacts capacity, things you can put on it, but it's basically a burner phone.
How is it not a
fancy
smartphone?
Burner. It doesn't run Android.
Is it
Doesn't run
touchscreen?
apps. I do not believe it is touchscreen.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, it has a little joypad, hard keypad.
Mhm.
Wow. Old
Yeah.
school.
yeah. New version of Snake. The CEO of the company is releasing this that owns the Nokia hardware business, says it's going to be a phone that maybe you'd buy, like a $60 phone you'd buy in the checkout line at Best Buy.
So it's like those Coleco, those things that look like an old Atari controller that you can plug into your TV and get a play.
If you need
play
it's going to be
Berserk on.
in a nice clear clamshell case that you just pick off the shelf at your local big box store.
Yeah, but does it come with minutes? I mean, why would you
I'm
do
sure
that?
they would pair it with minutes.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's your burner phone.
That's the money.
It's a burner phone.
Look, I'm gonna go out to the desert and make a big load of meth, and I need a way to contact people just once. So a $60 burner is exactly
How do you
the way
do
to
that
go.
though? How do you get the minutes for that?
Well, first you get a big
RV?
spherical base
Oh, okay.
base and an RV, and then some burners.
no, I seriously, like, how do you get burner minutes?
So you go buy a card.
That works. You just buy a
They're
card off
basically like gift cards.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it does. You don't have to associate that with a credit card number or address, phone number.
It depends on which state you're in. I think I don't know.
Huh.
I've number of burner phones I've bought to date. Goose
Equal
egg.
a 0.
All right.
Did you guys hear the story? This is something that I'm a little bit skeptical about because we did get fooled by the Doom driving the Porsche story.
Jeremy
Porsche
didn't.
driving the Doom game
Don't
story
say
last
we.
week.
Don't
I
say
did. So Wired has a story about researchers that, based on their study, they believe that malware could allow someone to steal data via the blinking LED on a hard drive.
This is from a Neil Stephenson novel.
Wait, what?
This
It
was in
is.
Cryptonomicon.
It is absolutely from Cryptonomicon, but the idea is in I believe the Ben Gurion University in Israel. They ran the cybersecurity scientists there ran a study and ran a demo where they demonstrated that if the right type of malware got into your computer, it could intercept the signal between the OS and the motherboard and which controls the blinking hard drive indicator light that most computers still have, the power light and the hard drive light. And by blinking and using code, they could transfer data at a astounding rate of, what is it?
Like how-
4K a second.
I was going to say it's going to be that's pretty fast.
I should
That's
have had
faster than I would have guessed.
I would have had you
Really
guess.
fast.
Yeah. 4,000 bits a second, or close to a megabyte every half hour.
So
Optically to a camera.
Optically. So exactly. So you would have, the theory is that for a data center, if this was to hack a data center where you have tons of blinking lights, all you'd have to do is have the right imaging system capture that video, and then parse it through an
it would
algorithm.
have to be pretty high speed though. The camera.
It would have to be
Presumably.
high speed and high enough resolution, especially
not-
if you're talking. Yeah,
to
I
not
mean
have
all those
blowout.
things scale.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could slow the data rate.
Yeah.
That's
So
interesting.
So, I after reading about, I think Stuxnet was what they used to destroy the not cyclotrons, the Kishore. What are the things you use to separate out different density materials?
Centrifuge.
Centrifuge. Thank you. After the Stuxnet was used to destroy the Iranian centrifuges, and reading how they got air gapped, got viruses onto air gapped computers, I believe everything.
I love this idea. It's like that guy who proved that you could capture keyboard strokes by, doing a recording of the keyboard.
Of just the pace.
If
of
you do
which
an
type.
analysis, if you're able to compare enough actual typing with the sound of a person typing, you can then decipher what they're typing just by the sound of the
Because
keyboard.
you have a cadence, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone
Didn't
does.
Data
yeah.
do this in a TNG episode where he deprogrammed people with a light? That's right.
I thought he was putting the chips in and out of the engineering computer really fast.
We got to wait for Jeremy to watch that
Isolator
episode.
chips. I know.
Yeah, don't ask this.
We didn't
week.
get an update yet. I mean, Westworld had the same plot line where they were smuggling data off of Westworld by optical GPS. Like a GPS satellite was looking down at a
Yeah.
robot and it was blinking and sending data out.
Oh, I watched the whole series. I didn't even catch that.
Did you say the robot who went rogue and they took she took the thing out of
is
the
that what
guy's
that was?
arm? That was what it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Morse code at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
But easier encoding.
Bi-
But it's
binary.
in
Yeah.
plain sight. No one thinks, oh yeah, my hard drive's blinking or that light is blinking. That must just mean it works.
Well,
It's
I mean,
thinking.
Look, if there's a target that's compelling enough, somebody will figure out how to bypass whatever security measure. Whether it's centrifuges or nuclear power plants or voting machines, everything is attackable.
So put
especially if
tape
it's
over
big
your
enough.
webcam. Put tape over your hard drive light.
Do you guys have tape over your webcam?
No,
What about your Oculus cameras?
no. Mark Zuckerberg does. He
Do you
does.
think he has tape
Yeah.
over his Oculus cameras?
He has tape over his microphone, his webcam. You saw it in the photos.
Tape over the microphone doesn't do anything. That just muffles it a little bit.
The thing is, you still. I'm surprised that LED is actually not wired in sync with like the actual data channel, just to activate when data flows.
But there's multiple hard drives, so there's no.
So it has to be a
a modern
system level.
motherboard has multiple chipsets even.
You're right.
Yeah,
So God, that's cool.
yeah. It's just software.
That's
it's
good.
all just software.
That's good.
It's like the webcam lights.
You like this?
Yeah.
Filthy is what it is.
All right. A couple bits of robot news. First of all, Motherboard has a story of a robot that plays ping pong exceptionally well. Did you guys watch this video?
No.
Table tennis.
It's
you
called
mean?
Forpheus, and it has the Guinness World Record for being the first robot table tennis
Whoa!
tutor.
Look at this thing.
Yeah, it looks like the MCP,
It does.
right? Mounted on top of a table tennis table, and that's like a gantry with a robot arm. But when you watch it play, it is insane how fast it plays.
Oh wow.
What if you put two of them and pit them against each other?
Oh my God, I want this.
It can switch handedness really seamlessly.
Oh, that looks expensive.
It looks very, very expensive. What's also expensive is the Boston Dynamics robot
God,
that
this
was
is
just announced.
terrifying.
This robot jumps and can go on a table. It's a new rolling, leaping robot, and what is its name? Handle is the name of the robot. You got to watch the video. Boston Dynamics, regardless of whether they're being funded by Google or not anymore, they're still working on crazy robots, and this one is this one's very mobile. It seems like a
New level scary.
new level of mobility and scary. Yeah, I wouldn't want to kick this one. Bill Gates was talking about robots earlier this week. He did an AMA, actually. But there was a video that Bill Gates did where he proposed an interesting idea of taxing the robots and the robot makers that create robots that would replace jobs as a revenue stream.
That seems fair.
It seems fair. I mean,
I think so. Look, we have 7 billion people on the planet. Already a lot of them don't have jobs. There has to be some way to make sure that those people don't starve to death and have a place to live. And if the robots are going to kill their jobs, then they should have a chance to fight the robots. Either get money from the robots, or fight them hand to hand in a duel to the death.
So I'm going to respond to the first part of your argument before we get into the gladiator portion.
Okay.
What we're asking about is sort of the moral obligation we have to all of the people on this planet in some capacity, and is a tax the best solution to that? Best way to implement
it depends if you're a Republican or a Democrat.
Yeah, I think what Jeremy said is probably right. I mean, I think alternative minimum income is something we should really explore, just because, or universal basic income, whatever you want to call it. I looking at times when job destruction has outpaced job creation adds societal chaos. And if we want to avoid some people seem to want societal chaos. If we want to avoid societal chaos, we need to take a real hard look at what happens in 20 years when the information worker jobs have all been eaten up by machine learning, right?
All the taxi drivers and Uber drivers, when autonomous cars roll out, what, you think they're going to need that cushion or want that cushion?
There's a reason Uber is hemorrhaging money every single day to build market, and it's because they see a future where there's autonomous cars coming and that they won't have to pay drivers anymore.
Right. So
yeah.
No, it's the progressive thinking. Yeah.
So the other alternative is just to let everybody starve to death.
Right.
Does Star Trek ever explain how they made that transition?
They had horrible instability in the 21st century.
Well, it just seems like there's fewer people. It honestly just seems like in the Star Trek world, there are just fewer people to feed.
Infinite space, too.
And there's infinite resources in space because the people without having to work and also the replicator solved that problem.
Right.
But in the replicator plus infinite energy,
infinite energy and no scarcity, basically.
But if you read the history, in the time between now and first contact, Khan and his eugenics buddies came through and wreaked havoc on planet Earth before first contact.
That's right.
So look, we have something exciting to look forward to. You better get your martial arts skills up. The eugenics babies are coming, Jeremy.
So we basically have to get to infinite energy and replicators before the 1% becomes the 0.001%, and they have all the money.
Well, and then there's also life extension, because if you live forever, then your ability to collect wealth indefinitely goes a long way.
Then you're talking about Jupiter ascending.
Yeah.
Where they just harvest the people.
I'll never talk about Jupiter ascending.
I don't understand with replicators why everyone didn't just turn into the Wall-E humans.
And that's the dark secret of Star Trek. Like the people who are on the spaceships, the people who enlist in the Federation, they're the people, the intellectual 1%, who, even though there is infinite space and infinite resources, they still challenge themselves mentally and physically and explore new and try to push humanity forward. There's a whole 10 billion people on Earth in the Federation who are just living out their free replicator lives. When they go back to Earth, everyone's just drinking wine and having steaks.
Do they ever cover that? Do you ever see those?
You see the hedonism planet.
That's true, but that's a different planet.
Yeah.
The Risa.
Well, I mean, they're all different planets.
It's a vacation planet.
They're all vacation planets.
Yeah.
When they go back to Earth, everything is great on Earth. And a lot of people are just content to live on that planet and farm. Like when Picard goes back to France after Best of Both Worlds Part 2, I'm sorry, spoiling in the future for you and your young son there. Yeah. But he just goes back to being a farmer in a wine country. There's just no need.
But no one's in a hovering lazy boy. They're not all fat.
Well, that's because the food is the replicator gives them exactly the food they need.
Because they also have holodeck sex.
No, there's no holodecks on the planet.
What?
Is that true?
Yeah.
What? No.
Holodecks are only for the 1,000th of 1% that's on the spaceships.
Because they're so energy consuming?
Or because they're dicks. I don't know.
I believe it's true because the fact that on Deep Space Nine you had to pay to use the holosuites. That is there is scarcity there.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
had to
Well,
pay.
Deep Space Nine.
You had to pay to use.
I didn't think you had to pay for
because you
anything
have to pay
in
for
Star Trek.
time.
Gold press latinum. It's a limited resource. So
Worthless
Quark,
gold. It was all about that press latinum.
Right. Quark only has 4 holosuites, and if there's 3,000 people trying to go have VR holosuite sex,
Careful.
giant holosuite orgies, then like somebody has to go in there and then they have to squeegee off the walls after it's done.
That's a mess.
Nah, that's Rom's job.
Nobody wants that.
Nog's
Yeah.
job.
Well,
sorry, Nog.
and that's the thing. They
Here's
don't
your
have
squeegee. Get to work.
Clean
boy.
up in Suite 3.
I want to join Starfleet.
They implemented that tax on robots. That's why Rom still has a job to do. all of
They
that.
can't afford robots in Deep Space Nine. It's the frontier, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that yeah. I'm
Of course, in
trying
the
to.
J.J. Abrams one, they're all just the plenty of people on the planet not enlisting in Starfleet. It's not easy. They had to still go to school. They don't have the brain download.
They have lots of Beastie Boys though. Still, those oldies, the classical stations in the 23rd century, pretty amazing.
Hey, Kishore, just to keep it real for a sec, any chance we'll see infinite energy in our lifetimes?
Those two words don't go together.
Isn't that what we'd say? What
And-
Star Trek needed? Like
And we
nearly
don't need-
limitless.
limitless energy?
Nearly limitless. Like
There are definitely sources of energy that exceed that we haven't tapped into.
Yeah.
That if we can imagine a future where we're able to store energy in a richer way, that yes, we'd be able to
Like the
Storage.
sun, you mean?
right, like that's not like let's go back to that Elon talk where he talks about just making a solar farm the size of a small town or the size of a state that would be enough to power the planet.
That's right.
But it's all about the storage.
Well, fusion
Or you
power,
just put them on both sides of the planet and then it works itself out.
whether or
Pipes.
not that's enough to power a replicator or even the voltage of a replicator. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think the replicator itself is replicator and FTL travel are the things that don't work.
The whole E equals MC squared, where C is a really big number times itself, makes the E into M hard.
Just got to warp space time. It's all good.
Wormholes, baby.
All right. Hey, let's get to something that we can talk about that maybe we are more experts on: iPhone rumors. Now that Will's back, let's get into
Nothing I
some
love more than a good
Didn't we do
iPhone
iPhone.
rumor.
We did.
Did
I
we do this
know.
last week?
We did do this last week. There were new rumors every
good.
week.
All right.
It seems like, and we did talk about last week how the big rumor is the higher end, more expensive, larger screen phone in the normal 4.7-inch form factor, and they may get rid of Touch ID in favor of front-facing facial recognition cameras. They bought a company that has expertise in that, and now The Verge is saying that the latest rumor is that they will get rid of Lightning in favor of USB Type-C.
I mean, that I would love that as a user, and it makes sense given the fact that they've moved to USB Type-C on literally every product that they have that is current.
Well,
Only the MacBook, right?
Well, I said that's current.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, the other rumor that goes against that is wireless charging.
I don't.
Yeah, I mean, wireless charging could be a 3-year thing from now, but I think we all agree that Apple, when they look into their future, it's wireless everything. They want to sell a product with zero cables.
That was
coming out
Steve
of it.
Lynn's point, is that they want a portless iPhone.
A portless MacBook and a portless iPhone.
Yeah.
And power is the last thing you really need for, as long as there's infrastructure around it.
As somebody who charges an Apple Watch every night, I don't like the ambiguity of is my Apple Watch charging?
Do you get that sense from your watch?
Is it charging, you mean?
Charging.
Okay, not
It
even
doesn't have an
charged.
indicator?
I mean, it does, but I just smack it on, and if I bump the nightstand when I put my glasses down or something, then I'll wake up in the morning and that watch will be half charged.
Well, that's an infrastructure. That's the charge design. That's a design problem with the charging.
Well, it is
charging puck.
but
And
yeah. I mean, the nice thing about the cable is even if you knock the phone off the side, it's going to dangle by the cable.
right. I mean, in this future, right, in the Apple design house of the future, whatever CE company, the charging surfaces are everywhere. There's no ambiguity because everything is a charging surface. Once you're in a room and the watch is off or the phone is off or the laptop is on a table, it's charging.
I get that the MacBook telegraphs that they're moving in a USB-C direction, but what's the incentive for Apple to do this? Because they get licensing for every single Lightning adapter that somebody makes as a third party. Why would they want to switch to USB-C?
Well, so the EU mandates that they have to have a USB port on every phone. So that means that every iPhone you buy in the EU comes with the dongle.
Currently.
That USB-C, the mini, mini micro, the one that's the flat one, not the one with the flanges. Micro to Lightning adapter.
And they just want to stop doing that? They want to stop shipping it? They want to ship a sexier phone to
the
UK?
other thing is that presumably USB-C is going to be faster. 3.1 is going to be faster than Lightning.
Yeah.
But I don't know that you need that.
Here's the other
And
way
we'll
to
charge
interpret
faster,
this
too.
rumor, is that on the phone, it'd be Lightning. On the power end, they replace the USB-A
That's what I assumed.
to USB-C. Because that's what's already on the MacBook Pro and the MacBook, the wall warts.
That was
It's
my
USB-C.
when I read the story, that's what my assumption was.
Yeah.
And given that they can that they're making a bunch of USB-C wall warts now.
Yeah.
For the laptops, and that those plugs are on all the computers, that makes more sense to me.
I mean, in the same way that we talk about a world in the future where people don't understand the concept of owning a car, I could very well imagine a future where electronics, we look back and like, wow, people plug things in, like where the plug is, and power is the last vestige of that.
Yeah.
Like it's because of how much the voltage you need to get through, like, and wireless just can't deliver that yet.
Well, I mean, and there's nothing saying that Apple won't revise Lightning. They revised the 40-pin dock connector multiple times to add new capabilities and new charging speeds and stuff like that.
30-pin, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, 30-pin. Like back to Kishore's question about licensing, there's an appeal to not owning hardware in that if you're worried about, say, carrying data across international borders, if you don't own hardware, you drop your old phone off at the Apple Store, wipe it when you leave the United States or leave Canada, and when you're on the other side of the border, you just go to the Apple Store, pick it up, and download your data back to the phone. I think that's a dark dystopian future we probably don't want to go to, but there are good reasons to not own hardware. Yeah,
I don't disagree with that.
Look, I'm looking at I have a Plex server in my garage, and I budget $500 worth of hard drives a year for it because A, I need more capacity, and B, hard drives that spin all the time last 3 years or 4 years on the outside. Shouldn't count on them lasting more than 3 years, really.
I just think it's a huge shift in consumer behavior and consumer psychology.
Well, since we're all of our jobs are gonna be gone by the robots, and we're just gonna be planting tomatoes in the backyard to live, it'll work itself out probably.
I like tomatoes.
Have any of you tried the Apple the AirBuds?
No.
I flipped the case.
AirPods.
The case the flip on the case.
Is it
really
a
nice.
cultural phenomenon?
You know, when I was at CES, I saw in the CES Las Vegas taxi line, that long winding taxi line, I saw 8 pairs of AirBuds.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, and I thought it was more initially, and then I realized I was seeing the same people over again because it winds up so many. But it was 8 different people who had
with
the
just
AirPods
like little things in their ears.
with white.
I see
the
them
things
kind of
in
a
their
lot.
ears.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Yeah.
There are. I've seen a lot of those.
Like walking around, if you walk around like 2nd Street at lunchtime, you'll see them all over the place.
No kidding.
Yeah, and they're still back ordered. Like I think they do drops occasionally in the Apple stores, but if you order them online, it's still 6 weeks or so.
Wow.
Are you guys interested in those?
No. Aren't they even hard? I mean, they're not even soft shell. I mean, I hate that feeling in my ear.
Yeah. Wireless, that kind of wireless connection. Doesn't.
No, wireless doesn't do anything for me when it comes
I
to
love
headphones.
wireless for headphones.
Oh, I have no need for that.
So what about these Doppler Labs Hear One earbuds? Have you heard of these?
No.
They're soft and they're wireless. And this is so the big thing that I've read with the AirPods, and I am eventually going to get a pair because I'm interested in how they work, is that it is step 1 to the computing in the movie Her, where the way you interface with your digital assistant and with your computer, a part of that is just built into whatever you plug into your ear. And maybe you still hold a phone or some type of local computer device that gets what's all your processing. The watch was kind of supposed to be that. Like the watch was Siri was supposed to be your killer app, but it's not good. It's not great. And so what the AirPods supposedly telegraph, because the AirPods are Gen 1 to get the wireless signal down, because you can actually adjust with like touch on the AirPods.
No, you can't.
You can't adjust. You
have
can't
to
tap it.
You have to. You can tap it, but then you say Siri, adjust the volume.
Sure, but there's tap.
I think that
activation.
there's a. I think it's an accelerometer. I don't think it's capacitive.
Got it. But it's step one to making this type. What it's this accessory that they're charging $160 to $170 for now. Over the next generations, becoming more of an essential accessory for your phone, your iPhone, right? The Doppler Labs Here One, they're called smart earbuds because they are essentially just headphones, earbuds, but they take noise cancellation technology. And what you can do when you put them in, they're low profile, they're soft, you plug them in, they work as Bluetooth headphones, but you can then adjust the volume of sound passing through it into your ear.
Wait, how?
Oh, that's interesting. So, like, if you're in a crowded nightclub and you can't hear the person you're talking to, you can filter it all
out, or you can amplify, so they become hearing aids, or they can dampen the sound on an airplane or on a bus.
Where's the battery on this thing? It's so small. It doesn't have the stick that the earbuds have.
Well, where's the radio?
The modern USB is pretty, like, modern Bluetooth is really low power for this kind of data.
But how long do they last? Do they indicate how many hours you get on it?
So I'm not sure about you're right. It's not gonna be like 24 hours of listening. They have 3 microphones on each of the earbuds, and they say it's zero latency. So that's the big innovation. It's pass through audio with zero latency. I could be having a conversation with you and basically turn you down or turn you up, and it does filtering. Like, you can imagine with equalizer technology, you can hear the world differently.
So that software works really well. I was standing in Yerba Buena yesterday on the phone with someone next to that fountain, and I said, "Oh, hey, is it too loud here next to this fountain?" And she said, "What fountain? I don't hear a fountain at all," because I was using the iPhone up to my ear, and it used the 5 microphones or whatever to cancel out to just not broadcast the fountain noise. I have the contrast to that is I have a pair of headphones that are noise canceling that have a button you can press. So when the flight attendant on the airplane says, "Hey, would you like a drink?" you don't either yell or whisper to them, and those don't work very well at all.
So and also battery life here, 2 hours.
That's terrible.
And it takes an hour to.
How much are they? Like $500?
$300.
Well, what a bargain.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're shipping in.
It takes an hour to recharge?
I think so. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to
That
roll back to
ratio
that
doesn't
one.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
If they were $50, I'd make a sacrifice for $50.
I do think it's an interesting gateway to augmented, biology. Where we're starting to add things to our body that we just wear to help our senses. I mean, obviously, people have been wearing hearing aids for a long time, but just the average, Joe on the street.
When I first started at Maximum PC, like, I hit the ground and they said, "Hey, I want you to write an article about wireless technology when Wi-Fi was brand new," and we had an infographic in there that was like the Meet Wireless dude, and it was a computer, a phone, a watch, a headset, and a pair of goggles, all connected wirelessly to the PC that he was wearing on his belt. And like, so we whiffed, and nobody carries the computer and the phone probably for that, but everything else is there.
Yeah.
You can get all the rest of that stuff today, and it was a terrible idea then. It's a really bad idea now.
A bunch of other news happening outside in the TV space. So in the Septop living space, I alluded to this earlier. YouTube and Google announced their live streaming service. This is the competition to PlayStation Vue and the AT&T DirecTV Now service, but it's just called YouTube TV.
Wait, YouTube does live streaming.
So that's like Twitch. This is like over-the-top TV.
Yes. So this is via YouTube. Anywhere where you have YouTube with the YouTube app, and it's a brilliant thing to do to not have it be a separate app and separate thing. It's just going to be built into the YouTube app. You can now pay $35 a month a la carte and get your local channels plus ESPN, I believe, is in it.
Yeah, ESPN. There's some sport channels. So the only holdouts from most packages would be TBS and TNT.
What about
Discovery?
NBC?
You get MSNBC.
Local channels you get.
And
get,
not MSNBC.
You get your local feed of your
Do you get a
network
Cartoon
channels.
Network and stuff, or is it all the Turner channels are off?
So you do not get
all
Turner.
the Turner is the.
You don't
the
get
holdouts.
Viacom, you don't get AMC, and you don't get Turner. So
And
no
so
TBS or TNT.
Viacom is CBS though, isn't it? Or it's CBS now.
Viacom is CBS.
Oh, you do get MSNBC. Yeah, so you get Nat Geo, MSNBC, Fox News, Sprout.
Wow.
And YouTube Red.
A suite of sports channels,
Well,
which
it
is
comes
the
with
real.
YouTube Red, so commercial free YouTube.
Yeah.
Comes with commercial free YouTube.
$35?
$35 a month, and you can add on Showtime, not HBO though.
And so I think
But-
what's interesting about
wow.
this is sort of twofold. Is one, 6 devices, by the way, that you can watch on.
That's fine.
Which is great.
Wait, simultaneously?
6 accounts shared, yeah.
DVR capability.
Hold on,
which
that's
is-
six hooked up to the account or 6 simultaneous? That's an important distinction. Because
So
with phones and tablets and stuff, 6 goes fast.
I
If it's just
believe-
TVs.
I believe it is 6 6 users can sign into it.
Whenever they want.
Okay, that's good then.
The cloud DVR is a huge distinction from Sling, which is the
Yeah.
the only that and PlayStation View are the
yeah.
only ones out there right now.
Do you have an idea how that
But-
works, though? Is it like always recording, or is it only when you're watching?
I think you have to set it to record,
Okay.
but it's not super clear yet about the interface for that.
That's unfortunate because if they're delivering this through their data networks, it means they're recording everything.
That's a-
So there's
yeah.
no reason why you couldn't just type in a time and say sci-fi at 4 p.m. yesterday.
Yeah.
That's a rights
then-
thing, though. So they basically, what you're asking for is unlimited Netflix-style streaming of everything that's on TV ever. And-
yes, I am asking
If you
for
wanted
that.
that, you would have to pay a lot more money.
But the search of this is kind of interesting too, right? Look of all the data. I mean, Google does data really well
Yeah.
and searches really well, so you would think that this interface is going to be incredible from
Well-
that perspective.
But it's also YouTube, so like
the fact-
50-50 chance.
But that's where their power comes in. Like people look for archived TV shows now on YouTube with all sorts of search.
Yeah.
And they know what's going to be popular. They know what people are searching for. Now it's like the Vivo model for music videos, except for live TV and hopefully TV clips and TV shows.
Yeah.
This makes having like Jimmy Fallon Late Night having their own channel almost a little obsolete because it's going to be just bundled in or tied in, like not obsolete, but it's going to dovetail nicely with whatever this
Yeah.
live search is going to.
I mean, this should drive way more traffic to those channels for TV shows. Because if you want to see Jimmy Fallon talk to Emma Stone, then like you can type that into search, or you can watch it live, and you'll probably search the same bar.
Or if you're already watching it live, right
Yeah.
after you finish watching that program, you can immediately in the sidebar click all the other clips from past episodes.
And it's going to totally kill follow-on. Because when you finish watching Survivor, it's not going to roll straight into whatever's next up. It's going to. I
well,
don't.
it's how people are consuming. It's how people are consuming streaming in live media. It's not just putting on the TV
Yeah.
and leaving it on, which you can do, but it's on your laptops and your phones and your tablets.
The fact that ESPN is doing this, but not an a la carte app, is an incredible fuck up on their part. 'cause it
ESPN
continues
is
to
doing this.
devalue.
ESPN is doing a standalone service later this year.
I know, but the fact that this is out before that means
Yeah.
that I'm much less willing to pay $15 or $20 a month for ESPN when I can just pay $35 to YouTube and get everything.
Yeah, this is true. Unless there's some catch that we're not seeing, like the
Well, I mean,
ESPN services will be limited on YouTube compared to what you get on the standalone.
I mean,
in
that's
some way.
possible.
And
Yeah.
you're saying all the networks are your local area networks? So I get the San Francisco news
Yes.
on NBC?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And like the other interesting thing is, I can't remember what it was. Was it the Super Bowl maybe that was blacked out on Sling and PS View?
And that will be the same here
Yeah.
because of the deal the NFL has with
Broadcast.
Verizon.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's
Oh,
with
it's with
Verizon.
Verizon blocks
Yeah.
that? Oh. So I could watch that on my phone, but not on my TV? It's fucking dumb.
Yeah, I don't know how much of a threat this is to a company like AT&T and Comcast if you're already going to have to pay for them for your internet. But if you have a third-party internet provider,
They're giving away TV at this point.
That's way cheaper than I just renegotiated my Comcast contract, and even with like the 1-year promotional rate, I'm still paying more than $35 a month for TV.
Just
and
for TV.
Those are the channels I watch.
I wasn't. With my 1-year promo, it was cheaper to get TV than to just do internet.
really?
Yeah, I actually upgraded my speed and lowered my price, and I got TV for free. I don't even have the cable box hooked up.
Oh,
but at least now I can sign in and get the digital stuff.
I got them to eat the unlimited the extortion fee.
So is this going to work on the Apple TV YouTube app? Because that's a huge win for YouTube.
this must anywhere
And-
where YouTube is.
And people who have an Apple TV with the YouTube app on it.
Well, in Apple TV, one of the things, if you load up like ESPN, it starts playing live video immediately.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of interface I would love to see more of, especially for things like this.
I see. I don't. As somebody who's a kid, I really don't like that because like we end up watching we like the Disney Channel app does that too, and that is not an accident because you will immediately start playing something that you don't never ever want to let your kids see as soon as you fire up that app. So
Oh, yeah, you want to curate
yeah,
for the kid.
we want to make sure that she only sees stuff that's not going to make us crazy if we watch it a million times.
All right. Xbox, Microsoft for GDC is announcing a new subscription service. Subscription services are very in. This is a new Game Pass. It's $10 a month, and it is access to over 100 games.
Is
for
this like the EA
Xbox
Access
One
thing?
and backward compatible. It is. I'm not sure about the EA Access thing. It's not streaming, so it's download and discover full games played locally, but has a library currently of 100 Xbox games from publishers like 2K, Capcom, Sega. No EA.
Is this on top of your gold subscription?
It's on top of your gold.
How much is
subscription.
it?
$10 a
$10 a month.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a rental service.
But I mean,
It's a subscription.
It's
like,
a subscription rental
look,
service.
the games that they have on the front of the list are 2 and 4 years old, respectively, and then Mad Max, which wasn't any good.
Yeah.
So, I mean, okay. I guess if you have a kid and they're not a discerning child.
I mean, the point is that it's
Dude, there's some good games on here.
I mean, Halo 5 was okay.
the point is it's laying the foundation. Like 2 years from now, when Scorpio comes out, right, a year later this year, or a year or two as they build up more relationships, it's just like Netflix starting off small. Like maybe this is the service that if Microsoft really wants to push hard, they're going to give like 2-day early access to for the next Halo game.
Well, they're already doing that for the deluxe edition of pre-orders. So they're
Right,
not going to
exactly.
do it for,
Well, they could absolutely do it.
I mean, I guess.
Or early DLC, right? Like they want to get people trained to pay for content as opposed to spending $60. I mean, they know the stats of attach rates and what the average monthly spend is every month for the years of releases for their consumers, and it maybe makes a lot of sense for them to do, $10 a month. That's $120 a year. So if people are paying or buying fewer than 2 games a year, then it makes
Getting
sense.
them on this makes well. So here's there's a curve on game sales, right? Like it spikes on the day that the game comes out, and then trails off pretty slowly for a week or two, depending on the game and which platform you're on.
And price. These games don't cost $60.
Right. Well, Halo 5 still is probably pretty expensive. And then there's a cliff that they go off eventually, and probably they move them into this after it goes down the cliff.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I worry about stuff like this because it devalues games in people's minds. When you look at what Nintendo's doing with the Switch service, where you get one game a month and it's only around for a month, that's kind of bad for consumers, and it doesn't fit with what we've become accustomed to with the games for gold and the PlayStation Plus thing. This is Microsoft saying, "Hey, our attach rate on our console is bad because if the people have both consoles, they're buying the PS4 version, and we need to get more people spending more time on this platform." I mean,
Yep.
I'm not sure that this is a good thing for the market as a whole, though.
All right.
Like sales already make people think, "Oh, I should never pay $60 for a game."
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And if everybody stops paying $60 for a game, guess what? We're not going to have any AAA games in 3 years.
I mean, maybe the way they should really position this is a way to replace people hoarding their games. Like, we all have boxes of games that, yes, it's our library and we can pull out and play. But I don't know how often I do that. Take a disc out, install the game, and play it. If it's a blanket, if this becomes a service where it's a blanket, any game older than 2 years old is a part of this, and as opposed to having to keep boxes and boxes of games, I can play any game 2 years older or 2 years or older, and it's paid $10 a month and download it, and I have
That's
fiber.
true.
Then that's well worth it.
In that, yeah, if it's not selective, that's much more interesting.
Yeah. On the PC side, we also have some PC hardware announcements. Last week, we saw an AMD CPU announcement, exciting 8-core CPUs. This week, on the graphics side, Nvidia has announced their new top-of-the-line video card, the GeForce 1080 Ti. $700 card, 35% faster than a 1080.
Really?
Faster than the Titan X.
Is it a process shrink?
No, it's just higher clock speeds and way more cores.
Wow, really? It's going to be loud as hell, isn't it?
It is. Well, the 1080s were very efficient, power efficient, and overclockable already. So 11 gigs of RAM,
Wow.
I believe, and the current 1080 gets a price drop to $500, and this is all coming out next week.
Why not a power of 2 on the memory? Why 11 gigs?
I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure if I'm right about the 11 gigs.
It is. You're right.
11 gigs.
Are they going to price drop the 1080?
Yeah,
Did you
to
say?
$500.
That's not that
okay,
much of a
that-
price drop because they're $500 now.
They're not $500 now.
If you go to
The
Amazon right
10s
now and look for a 1080, you'll get it for $500.
that's a great price.
But you could pay $200 more and get 35% more performance.
Well, not. I mean, $200 is a lot. Also, it's $200 you can be spending on VR hardware or games.
He's got baller checking.
I do a baller checking.
And our last piece of technology news: Alexa is now going to recognize different people in your house.
It's like
with
they've been
different
listening to
voices.
the podcast.
It's what you wanted.
This is great.
So is it pitch based, like younger kids, or is it actually creating voice prints?
I'm going to say that, and I'm going to
Voice
say
prints.
pitch is a part of it.
It's $550 for a 1080 right now.
This is
for the
phenomenal.
low end one.
This is great.
Now, they say the use case of this is because then you have tighter controls on who can make purchases.
I
with
love
your
it. Yeah,
Alexa.
bring
But
it.
that's not why I want.
My voice is my
Distinction.
passport.
Yeah, but I want actually like a different interface for the kids.
My daughter can only play Katy Perry's Roar twice a day. That's it. I want Alexa to cut her off. Cut her
Twice?
off after
Once. Once.
I don't think they're going to allow for that kind of granular
that. No,
control.
I don't either, but I want it. This is great. No, I can't wait. This is fantastic. This is just what I wanted. This is what it should do to begin with.
I have an Alexa in my office now because my
Yeah.
daughter will stand at the thing in the living room and go, Alexa, 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 and wait for the blue light to come on. And then it comes on. Oh, sorry, everybody.
Yeah.
Alexa, send Will Smith $10. Yeah, and then she says what she wants and it doesn't do it, and she's sad. So I'll just whisper to Alexa in the office and say, Alexa, turn on the lights in the living room.
Nice. That's a
Yeah.
good daddy move.
Yeah,
Are you happy about this?
I don't care.
You don't care? Do you use profiles?
What are profiles?
Oh, so you like if
I'm
you,
not an Alexa power user, Jeremy Williams.
You know how you have different Amazon accounts, you and your wife. You can each have
we
an.
actually don't.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay. Well, you can.
Okay.
And you can have different profiles to associate with different Amazon accounts, so that you can order from one person's account or the other,
Interesting.
or their Prime library or what have you.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Have you started tracking your children's Alexa searches using the Alexa app?
No, I'm
man.
a little scared about that, but it's a good point. It's a good point
Right.
that one could do that.
Yeah. As long as you are the supervisor account, you can see every voice query
Wow.
in the Alexa app. What people have asked it.
No one man should have all that power.
Yes.
This is just another example of Amazon being at the forefront of this Star Trek computer movement. I love it.
And you know, a lot of people would say that they have concerns about privacy here, but I know that's the sacrifice a lot of people are also willing to make for convenience and what they would say progress. Before we jump into our next segment, I also want to thank the other sponsor of this week's podcast, and that's Crizal No Glare lenses. In addition to helping me see better, I expect my eyeglasses to stay clean and clear. But if you're wearing glasses, then you know that's not always the case. Thankfully, Crizal No Glare lenses are tested to protect against annoyances like fingerprint smudges, scratches, and glare, so you can focus on what's going on around you rather than through your lenses, which means you don't have to worry about your lenses getting dirty when you take them on and off or getting scratched when you clean them in your shirt. Crizal No Glare lenses even make it safer for you to drive at night by reducing reflection caused by headlights of oncoming traffic. Look better, feel better, and more importantly, be prepared for whatever comes your way with clear vision. Go to crizal.com, that's CRIZAL.com, to learn more and start living life in the clear.
Mm-hmm. Do.
Now it's time for a moment of science.
Anyone have $70 million they want to let me borrow?
Yeah, I'll send that right over.
Yeah.
You want
I-
an EFT or a check?
It's make it out to Elon because I'm going to use it for a trip to the moon.
Oh, hey, you and I are going to be on the same flight.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh,
there's
we're
two
the, we're,
seats,
we're the
right?
guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey.
High five.
Two-
Training starts later this year.
Wait a minute. Is it to the moon or just around the moon?
I think it's just a
Look,
it's
Pedantics.
further than any human has gone.
Well, no, that's not true.
It's not true.
Well, I mean, actually, it depends on the orbit. Like,
Yeah, it depends on the
I have
orbit.
played a lot of Kerbal, and you can do a cislunar orbit insertion that will put you way out past
Look,
the MUN.
all I want is that slingshot around the moon that'll take me into that'll take me into the past, so I can save some whales.
Yeah. You have to go around the sun for that one, not the moon.
Can you guys actually tell me what the news is?
The news is that
Norm and I are going to the moon.
that
It's
Norm-
science. You already heard it.
well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're going to start a Kickstarter to support your efforts to go to the moon.
Okay.
Elon
Sounds
Musk
good.
announced a new endeavor for SpaceX by 2018 that he will launch a vehicle, let's call it that, that will
Dragon
take
2.
2 people around the moon and back.
I think it's
So-
3
With an
people,
S-
isn't it? But 2 of them are passengers.
Yeah, 2 passengers and the
Right? That'd be really scary. Like,
Like-
billionaires, like, okay,
See ya.
like we'll put you guys. You guys got training, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Elon Musk pushing Jeff Bezos inside. Yeah, I can see that happening. In a private press conference, they indicated the cost for per passenger would be $35 million. There's some indications there would be some of the reusable rockets that we've talked about relanding on barges being part of this. That's why there's so much cost savings. That number seems off by a factor.
Of 10?
I actually think it's probably off by a factor of like 6 or so.
You think it should cost in the
It should
hundreds
cost-
of millions of dollars?
Yeah, somewhere north
for
of
a trip.
$150 million.
Yeah. So the path this is going to take, they say, is going to be a slingshot around the moon, and it's going to get close to the surface, right? It's
right.
gonna-
There's no atmosphere. You can get real close, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fun.
And it is the 2 people have already bought their tickets. 2
Wow.
unnamed billionaires. Do you think this is the same ex-Google exec who did the weather balloon drop, or not the weather balloon, who beat Felix Baumgartner right after the 1 year, who did that secret training mission? Who do you think these people are? It's not Jeff Bezos.
Bezos has his own rocket ship company.
Yeah,
He's not going to piss
exactly.
away money on this.
Yeah.
Look, there's enough billionaires. You know, we don't know them all.
Wait, I'm just going to name names. I think it's Stuart Butterfield. I don't know why. I'm just throwing that name out
Is he
there.
a billionaire?
Sure, close enough at this
Okay.
point. Fastest growing company in the world, right?
Yeah, but I don't think that makes you a billionaire.
Well, what does he run?
Slack. What's the Uber guy? He could be doing this.
Kalanick wants to get off this planet
Imagine
right
how
now.
pissed you would be if you spent $35 million on a space trip and like you were stuck in a capsule for 4 days with the guy in charge of Uber. This week's podcast is brought to you by.
Elon, 5 stars for Falcon.
So just a note, there's some problems here, and I think one of the problems is that Elon's been very, very critical of the SLS system that NASA has been putting, which is their space launch system to get which is the first step in one of their many steps to get a crewed mission to Mars, and that this seems to be sort of a way of attacking the integrity of that system by sort of challenging it.
Do you
in
think
some ways.
that? I think that.
I do.
I think that this is. Hey, we missed our Red Dragon window, so we need to do something else that's going to keep the investors interested.
Oh, I mean, that's probably reasonable, but NASA wasn't so happy with this announcement on a lot of levels.
They issued a release congratulating them and saying they'd love to continue working with these private companies. Yeah, it was
Was there
very
some
diplomatic.
shade? Was there like a subtweet in there?
No,
Like,
I don't think so.
hope everything goes okay.
I mean, it's a lot of talk, right? Elon makes a lot of promises. They
Yeah.
like making these press conferences. One, obviously, to make the investors happy and to create excitement around SpaceX. But he was saying that there is a market for 1 or 2 of these flights a year after 2018, 2019. Not if anything goes wrong.
Imagine
the pressure.
So my real problem with it is just pure masturbatory. It's just rich people flying around the moon for no reason.
It's so that when you go to a billionaire cocktail party, you can say, "Hey, how was your moon trip? Oh, you haven't been yet? I'm sorry."
Oh, Yeah, that's what space is about.
Yeah. Look,
And I think that's like at the core what that strikes me as problematic is I'm not really clear why. How does this help the future?
presumably
missions?
this makes money and they learn stuff doing these longer duration
Yeah,
missions. And if they let the billionaires be guinea pigs, that's fine.
There's lots of evidence in the space race's history of that happening, so there's reason to be confident about it. But doesn't it bother you on some level as just like a peon on Earth?
Look, I think what we should do is start a lottery, and if we get the appropriate number of tickets, everybody who buys a $1 ticket gets a 1 in 70 million chance to get on the space mission, assuming they can pass the physical.
That's actually better odds than the current lottery.
Right.
It's got to be really hard to be a billionaire because there's not a whole lot of things you can spend $35 million on.
Tweets to @Jareware.
Well, but so like if you think about the private spaceflight that Richard Garriott and Anushka Ansari did, there's like that funded Russia's space program when Russia was collapsing, when the post-Soviet Union collapsed. There's nothing wrong with them making money off of people who have a shitload of money to do something cool and that pays for some more commercial spaceflight exploration.
I agree. If that was more, I want that to be more explicit.
But they can't say.
Yeah.
He can't come out and say, "Look, billionaires. Hey,
Oh,
look,
they won't care.
Look, other billionaires." I don't know. There's a lot of space out there.
There's lots of things that SpaceX I've gotten deeply excited about. This is probably not in my top 5 this year.
The Falcon Heavy.
Falcon Heavy.
I'm going to Florida
Number
for
one.
that one. I've decided. I want to see
when
that
is it
happen.
launching?
It's later this year.
Wow.
2 other quick stories. I found out earlier today that Will Smith likes Subway. And I do too. I eat at Subway a lot.
I don't like Subway. I wouldn't say I like Subway.
Okay.
I would
No
say
one
that I
likes
eat
Subway.
at Subway
I eat at Subway
regularly.
I best describe it, the walking past a Subway. There's a unmistakable cloying musk of their bread, and I cannot
like
stand
that
it.
smell. We ate at Subway a lot when we worked at Future. When the nearest
I
restaurant
remember.
was a Subway.
Yes.
It's the healthy fast food.
Yeah, I
But
wish
it's
there were,
really not.
if I could choose Arby's or Subways, I would get rid of every Subway and replace it with Arby's.
We can
No
find out.
contest.
We can test this. We can get some DNA kits. We can walk into a Subway. We can test their meat to see how much of it is actually meat.
What's your Subway order, Kishore?
I like it. If I
you have a
if I
regular?
don't care about myself, it's the Italian BMT.
Oh yeah, I like a spicy Italian, little toasted, little chipotle sauce, just a light chipotle.
I'm in
Lettuce,
oil,
tomato, green peppers.
oil and vinegar, salt and pepper. Wow.
Yeah.
It might be lunchtime here. But the CBC went to Subway and tested their chicken.
What's the
to see-
CBC?
Canadian Broadcasting Corporation.
Oh, okay.
Went to Subway and actually tested their chicken to see how much of it was chicken using DNA tests. And they found, I think the shocking headline is that they found it was about 50%.
And the rest is yoga mats.
It's mostly fillers and salt.
This is in the things that look like pieces of chicken.
Yes.
Wow, that's interesting.
The Subway has responded with one of the strongest worded press releases that I've seen in a long time, saying they want a retraction immediately, and they totally dispute any of these findings and how they were conducted.
It turns out when you put TV people in charge of science, things sometimes get a little sideways. So I wouldn't read too much into this yet.
No, just like the yoga mat chemical thing, which was overdone. I'm not sure. I think this is that much of a story, except the high salt content in their food, because salt is cheap, which is something that's been known for a long time. And I think that's really the hidden cost of a lot of the fast food items is like they're loading up salt.
It's not just fast food items, all the way up to the finest of fine dining. When we had Tracy Desjardins on to make omelets years ago, she said explicitly the amount of salt, the reason restaurant food tastes good is because we put about 3 times as much salt, at least,
Butter.
as you would ever do at home. So I just started putting more salt and butter in my food at home, and then everything tasted super dope.
And then your doctor was like, "Stop that."
And my doctor was like, "If you want to eat like this, you need to exercise more." I was like, "Whatever, I'm gonna go play badminton."
All right.
Yeah.
I have one last thing, not to get our allies rage-inducing, but there are a number of bills ahead of state legislatures right now that are teach the controversy type bills.
Oh boy.
So in Indiana, Alabama, Oklahoma, the bill failed in South Dakota. There's a number of state bills that are designed to either encourage teaching of the controversy around biological evolution or encouraging teaching of alternative ideas to biological evolution in science classes.
When did can we all agree that science is what let us beat the Russians in the Cold War? You know, we outspent them on space and military and all these other things because we had really good scientists. We spent more money on that stuff than anybody else.
I thought it was Noel Emmerich and the Americans.
I don't,
I thought it was the
the
1980
Americans.
Miracle on Ice hockey game.
That was pretty good too. But like, when did science become an enemy of the GOP platform?
When it
And
started costing money.
I
Norm
don't
is so
think this
nervous.
is
I'm
a-
sorry for bringing this up and
I
asking
don't think this
question.
is a partisan thing. It's an ideology thing. I think there's this. I think this is driven by a really specific set of people that want that see the teaching of evolution as contrary to their religious and philosophical beliefs. And I think the hard part for me is like, when I think about my kid growing up and like what career I want for him, I want him to be able to like be a doctor.
Yeah.
And you can't do that unless you take biology classes where they talk about evolution, because it's the foundation of so many other sciences. So that's the real shame here. I think, I think there's a lot of people that are doing incredible work on this, the National Center for Science Education especially. I just want to say, I think that these bills is why you hear so much chatter about scientists running for local office these days. School boards, local legislatures, because that's where these decisions are made. And I hope people take up the fight against this, just because I would like to think that science is what will be taught in science class.
I watched a video recently. Do you see the Tucker Carlson, Bill Gates interview?
Bill Nye.
Bill Nye interview. It was infuriating.
6 seconds.
6 seconds before Bill Nye was interrupted by every time Tucker Carlson tried to ask him a question. And yes, he is Tucker Carlson is a pretty hostile TV personality, but just trying to pick apart what he was trying to do in this TV segment. So it was on Tucker Carlson's show about climate change and bringing Bill Nye in. Like, first, just prefacing Bill Nye's introduction in a very hostile way by picking some choice language from Bill Nye quotes, and then not having a discussion, what anyone could call a discussion or anything constructive at all. It was a circus for TV, right? But that approach, that type of making something serious and real into a performance, is what's happening in politics a lot these days.
Have you watched Network lately?
No, it just makes me angry.
Yeah, you're mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. And it seemed like a parody. I was too young to watch it when it came out, but it seemed like something that was a joke, and now it's real.
Yeah, I mean, my Twitter feed last night is indicative of this. So hopefully we can be better.
All right, let's get to our big segment this week.
The VR Minute. Virtual reality this week.
Thinking about getting another Oculus sensor.
It's a good time.
Oh, why?
Well, they're a little cheaper now.
Amazing segue again.
So big news out of GDC this week on the Oculus side. So we have a lot of news actually in all of VR. From Mobile World Congress, something we won't talk too much in depth about. Samsung Gear VR has a new controller that's going to give them parity with Google Daydream. It's basically a rotationally tracked controller with buttons on it for Gear VR, and some games will work with that, as opposed to using a gamepad. But on the Oculus Rift side, the dedicated VR PC VR side, Rift is now cheaper by $100, and Touch is now cheaper by $100.
So it's $150 for Touch, or
$200. So Oculus Touch, the 2 touch controllers plus the second sensor, will now cost you just $100. That's a 50% price drop in the 2.5 months, 3 months since Touch was released, which is pretty significant.
So I have two questions. A, does that make you mad as early adopter?
Yeah, it makes me a little bit mad, especially, yes, the answer is yes. It makes me mad that we recommended to people to buy Touch immediately, and I don't regret that recommendation because it is an essential part, but I do feel burned a little bit. And yes, we did get the pre-order games. We got the Unspoken and we got VR Sports Challenge, and those pre-order games are no longer bundled with the Touch.
Did you get Medium too?
Medium, everyone gets Medium.
Oh,
everyone gets Medium,
okay.
everyone gets Quill, everyone gets Toy Box, and everyone still gets, I believe, Dead and Buried.
Okay.
I think Touch is worth $200. So
I
I'm not
agree.
upset about it.
Yeah, but $100 is a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And the price of an extra sensor now, camera sensor, has gone down from $80 to $60. Now, if you did buy Touch for the full $200 within 30 days, they're going to give you a $50 Oculus Store credit to basically buy another game or another 2 games if you want.
Yeah. Or the Rift, right? I mean, I think it applies to both.
I'm not sure if it applies, but I think you're right, though. And the way they split up this price drop into both the SKUs was also interesting, something that Jeremy and I talked about at length in our show.
Are they taking a loss on the hardware now?
No. I actually asked about that. I wanted to know if they actually were able to reduce the cost of manufacturing in the past year of the Rift, as well as the Touch 3 months out. And apparently so. Apparently, Nate said that their ops team has been hard at work, trying to get those costs down, and now they're just passing that savings on. They've always framed their sales as trying to give away the hardware close to cost, and so according to their story, that's what they're still doing.
$600. That is. I think this has to be a response to the stuff Tim Sweeney said a few weeks ago about the sales numbers for the Rift and the Vive, and that the Vive was basically outselling the Rift 2-1.
Well, in terms of sales numbers, the only company that's given out sales numbers is Sony PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
And New York Times had a story. There's not a lot of GDC news for PSVR, but except for the fact that Sony has announced they've sold over 915,000 PSVR units.
Mm-hmm.
Now, PSVR is an accessory to a game console, and people approach those things different. It was the most cost-effective way to get into motion-tracked VR. Vive was the most expensive way, and Rift, if you want all in, they both cost $800. But at least Rift offered the option for you to buy the $600 thing first. You could only buy that thing first last year until December, when you could then buy Touch for additional $200.
Well, but the Rift was also you have to buy that extra camera. I firmly believe you have to buy the third camera for the Rift.
No, I disagree. I mean, I think all the games for Rift are designed for 2 camera.
Okay, if you want to use the Rift with Steam VR, you have to buy the third camera.
Your best,
and I think if you don't use the Rift with Steam VR, you're probably missing out on a lot of really interesting stuff.
I mean, we played a game last night. We'll get to this later, but that third camera would have been really useful.
I was constantly fighting with the third camera, with not having the third camera plugged in.
And that's why for Oculus, as we chatted with Nate, they're getting rid of the experimental label on room scale, and a lot
this year.
Eventually, and a lot of that has to do with their improved tracking with the new 1.12 release. They know they messed up with the 1.11 release with tracking room setups for people with 3 cameras and people running room scale setups, and their whole documentation. I think the thing that they've done really well and they're really focused on is the onboarding experience. Once you buy a setup, if you either buy a pre-built PC or build your own PC, setting up the Rift is really easy. And that's not to say the Steam VR setup process isn't comprehensive. It's just that they made the setup for the Rift like the lowest common denominator. It works, and they walk you through everything, and they weren't comfortable not having that type of experience for the room scale without the tracking being done right.
Well, and like the cable lengths mean that the way the 3 camera positioning for the room scale means that most people are going to have to buy some sort of extension cable. They should really put that in the box, because some extension cable, like I went through 3 extension cables before I found one that worked.
Is there no extension with a third sensor?
In fairness, I have a couple of dev kits that they provided, and I used one of those cameras for the third sensor, so I don't know what comes in.
Nate told us a year ago that the third sensor would come with an extension cable.
With an extension cable? Okay, so then that's just me.
I'm not sure if it does or not.
Yeah, I didn't buy a separate third camera.
What? I'm interested to know what people, like how many Oculus people are doing Steam VR stuff, and how many Oculus people are only buying stuff from home.
I think you're absolutely right that if you own the Rift and Touch, you should be buying stuff from Steam VR. It's the stuff that's going to be the most versatile if you decide later on to change platforms. And the only real benefit of buying stuff on home, if it's available on both, is for the matchmaking.
Yeah.
I play
but assuming if the game's on both platforms, presumably.
Sometimes they'll only, like, for example, what was the game that launched that was locked into the Oculus pre-built
Eve
multiplayer?
Valkyrie was for a while.
That's what it was.
Yeah. The onboarding. So I recently reinstalled Windows and reset up my Rift and my Vive, and I was really shocked at how, like, when I go around and do demos in places, I often use other people's hardware now, because a lot of people have Vive set up in their offices, and most people don't know how to fit the Vive. Like, they don't know how to fit the strap on your head, so they're wearing it too high or have it way too tight or whatever. The Rifts, the new onboarding for the Rift does such a good job of teaching you how to fit that headset the proper way so that it's comfortable. It's really, really well done.
Yeah. So the price drop, obviously, good news for people who maybe are on the fence. And what it tells me is that we're not going to see Rift 2 this year. Like the focus for this year, clearly.
Really? You think a price drop means they're not going to? I think a price drop means that there's something new coming.
I think the price drop means that they need more people to buy the games,
Yeah, I
to
wouldn't
buy the
count on it.
headsets, and then buy the games. And then I think at earliest we'll see something next year for release end of next year.
Maybe.
Like it's going to be console life cycle, and I think we're okay with that. We don't want to have to spend $600 to $800 every year for new hardware, even though
Right.
the improvements are coming. Let's get the software out there, get people experimenting, figuring out what's going to be the best types of creative or of gaming or content experiences in the platform. Make improvements to Oculus Home, to the interfaces, both on Steam VR and Oculus Home. I think those could be,
Well, the platforms.
the actual software,
There's no
the
DLC
OS.
delivery mechanism on Oculus right now.
The matchmaking, the social environments, all of that needs to be worked on. Spend money on that. Like, yes, Facebook has a lot of money, Valve has a lot of money, but there's only so much amount of brain power you can put onto these projects.
And
Well-
just also increasing the installed base is important because there's a lot of great multiplayer games out there without enough players in line to play with you.
Yeah. And they also because they have the rigid head strap and their headset's really comfortable and they have the integrated audio, they don't have an obvious upgrade like HTC does for the existing headsets with the Vive.
Yeah, and they I don't think they care about that. Like HTC needs to sell new accessories or new things to make their numbers every year. Not the same. They're not going to have more people buy Vives this year than last year. They had the big surge last year, so they need to sell tracker pucks and rigid head straps this year. And speaking of which, they did announce pricing for that at GDC. So it's going to be $100 for the tracker, the HTC tracker, and also $100 for the deluxe audio head strap, which I think that's a great price for the head
I
strap.
think both of those things are really fair prices.
Me too.
Yeah.
Are you going to get one of those deluxe audio straps?
I'm getting two
Pucks?
pucks probably per recording that we do because then we can track feet, which would be really convenient.
Yeah.
And the head strap will be literally I'm going to try to be the first in line to buy that.
Have you used that yet?
No,
Norm said it was great.
really. Does it balance? I mean, because the Vive is a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
Not having to fool with headphones is worth it on its own. If
Yeah.
the rigid head strap makes it more comfortable, even better. I used a headset the other day that had that cloth cover on the padded foam Vive the
VR
Vive
cover?
the VR cover. Holy cow, that makes a big difference. It was much more comfortable to wear than the scratchy foam.
And then Valve also is going to be selling base stations directly, so you don't have to buy them through HTC. The base stations through HTC, the ones made by HTC, were $130, but Valve is also going to be making tracking base stations available later this year.
Didn't we see a design change too? There's just
Yeah.
one motor.
They did tease that. I don't know if this is going to be with the new one design, single motor base station, or if it's the current dual motor one. I hope it's a single motor one. That's
Essentially cost savings.
cost
Yeah.
savings and also stability.
Did they announce anything about changing the way that will you be able to have more than the two per room, or can you have overlapping fields or anything like that?
Don't know.
Okay.
Not sure yet.
Have you guys tried the TP-Link stuff yet?
Yes, we did at CS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so wireless is the big question, right? Like, what's next for VR? Is it the new interface controllers? Like, Valve is not gonna be afraid. So, like, when we talk about price drops and market saturation, it's good for VR that we have two companies now that are really trying to make price mainstream. PSVR, obviously, and which they've sold almost 1 million units, and Oculus, yes. PSVR, I think they got a lower price point initially by maybe making some compromises in the tracking fidelity. You have to use their existing camera system, and they've been open to saying that maybe a future version of PSVR, once you've gotten people accustomed to it, to changing up the tracking solution.
Can you remind me, if you just have a PSVR, you need the camera, the two move wands, and the headset. How much is that?
The two move wands are optional.
I know, but if you wanted all that,
It was $500 for everything.
okay.
Yeah, I believe it was $300 for three something for the headset, and then $50 for the move ones.
Okay.
Plus the camera package. And on the Rift side, you have the price now at $600. Plus, you can get like a $600 or $800 pre-built PC to run it on. and they're gonna be content trying to get as many people buying that and then buying games and they're funding games. That's great for people like us who want to play VR games regularly. And on the Valve side, I don't think they care about how many people have it. They have enough money. They know that people are excited about it, and there's enough of a niche audience to continue supporting it where they will be happy to release a new controller system that will replace the wands this year if they wanted to.
But I mean, it's the biggest desktop VR audience there is.
But they're not afraid of cannibalization. They don't need market saturation before to release new hardware.
Well,
they want new stuff out as soon as they think it's ready.
It's still so early that everybody's figuring stuff out.
Yeah.
And they're going to have new manufacturers come out this year too.
Yeah. So LG just announced that they have a prototype for their HMD, and that's great. That's what we need in the Steam VR space. Yeah, HTC.
That's where their price savings will come, is with competition between vendors.
Well, I don't think it needs to be price savings, but that's where innovation. That's where that's where you don't have HTC resting on their laurels, because the quote that Gabe talked about is cost reductions is the root of all evil, and what we don't want is the VR fad trying to get costs all the way down by taking things away. They're happy to develop things that are going to cost more. Right. And to get the best experience, because that's where we eventually need to get to.
Yeah.
And whether that's with wireless or high resolution screens, but wireless is one potential path for VR. And you asked if we had tried TB Cast. There are 2 wireless companies making accessories for the Vive. We only tried the TB Cast one at CES. It worked perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody I've known that's used it says it's really, really good. I literally cannot wait to try that.
But according to Oculus, that they said it's compressed. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
And
it's something that both Michael Abrash at OC3 talked about how wireless wasn't ready in their roadmap, and really, I think, telegraphing that from their perspective, on the desktop side, wired was the path going forward, and for wireless, it was going to be whether a standalone compute solution on a headset, like what they had with the Santa Cruz prototype, or with a Gear VR style, put a phone into a mobile headset.
But I thought when you interviewed the TPcast guys, they said it wasn't compressed. So I don't know enough about. It has
to be compressed.
I don't know enough about this 50 gigahertz spectrum to know what kind of bandwidth it is. But I'd like to know more.
The part that brought up most consternation in that interview was the compression.
The people that I've talked to that have used it said that they saw occasional artifacts, but no latency.
It's 100%. It has to be filtered somehow for it to be turned into that signal. And so the question is whether latency, which is the most important thing. I would rather see artifacts, compression artifacts, than latency.
Yeah.
And 2, how noticeable those compression artifacts. In my experience, I could not notice compression, especially with fast turning, because it was 90 hertz. And also didn't notice any additional latency, even though the additional 5 millisecond, 10 milliseconds
the problem
is there.
A lot of people are asking for wireless, but they're also asking for higher res, and those two are conflict with one another.
So that's what Jason Rubin says in the latest interview, where he was pushed on why isn't Oculus pursuing wireless when you have these accessories on the Vive side.
Yeah.
And his answer, which is very much the company message, is people don't want more expensive things. Right now, his answer is people say that VR is too expensive, and that's why they're not adopting it. PC gamers who are happy with their GTX 960s and 970s and playing League of Legends don't want to try VR because it's an additional $600, $800. And that was really telegraphing, I think, the price drop announcement they made today. And 2, poo-pooing the fact that on the Valve side, they're happy to make bleeding edge hardware, and they know that on the Valve side, there are going to be people willing to spend $1,000 on the latest.
Well, and the Valve side is making some really specialized hardware too. Like the tracking pucks, most normal people never are going to need a tracking puck. If you're doing mixed reality broadcasting, or if you're doing weird experimental stuff like I'm doing, then the tracking puck is a godsend.
I think there's going to be some, like the Onward community is going to be a major
What's
market.
the Onward?
That's the Counter-Strike
for the tracking pucks. There's going to be some great
Yeah.
rifles that you can buy
Yep.
that are
Absolutely
fully articulated and working.
But that's still an enthusiast level thing. That's
Absolutely.
the equivalent of buying a stick and throttle and rudders to play Elite.
Yeah.
Which is why I think it's going to be great. Let's go back to what I said. This kind of division between Oculus and Valve is great for VR enthusiasts like us, because we can
You have
have
more choices.
progress.
Yeah.
We have choices. We're happy that developers and hardware makers are pushing innovation on one side, and then we're happy that there's high-end content available today for us to experience VR today on the Oculus side.
I still fundamentally worry about setting expectations for people who buy headsets that you're going to see AAA quality games, even if they're shorter experiences, And I worry that is going to really, if the Oculus money dries up, not that I'm suggesting it will, but if Oculus doesn't keep pumping money into this until such time as the market can actually support that kind of budget on a game, I really worry that they're hurting the health of the ecosystem.
Well,
That is a perfectly valid question to ask, and it is the very question that we asked Oculus on Monday when we went to the Oculus Days event, which is why depth this year is, and they're very clear that they're in VR for the long run. They have, as mainstream as they believe VR can be right now, it's a 5 to 10 year thing. They just need that big foothold so that people are going to be using social VR in the Facebook space. But they've spent $250 million on software. They're going to spend another $250 million on software. And they said that it's an ongoing thing. They're not going to stop investing in software.
Presumably, they're going to have to keep doing that until there are 10 million headsets that can play Oculus titles, which makes me wonder why they haven't opened up their store to other platforms.
Yes.
Like if you could plug your Vive in to the Oculus platform and play, and there was a Vive an Oculus API driver for the Vive and whatever other headsets come out, that makes it much faster for them to get to that number that will support the big games.
Well, we will see some AAA games this year. I mean, you can't just throw money at that problem. It also takes time. And some of the games that we saw, particularly like Article 1, which just is like from the Metro guys, looks phenomenal, and they've been working on it for 2.5 years.
Yeah,
so it's
just a normal dev cycle for a big game.
Exactly,
Yeah.
And and that seems like quite a massive game in terms of gameplay time too. So I mean, it's just taken this long to see that AAA scale. Your question is that going to be self-sustaining? Is there going to be enough headsets
Are they
for the market to be able to do
My
that?
question is, are they going to keep pumping money in until the market is big enough to be self-sustaining?
Yeah, I hope.
And if they stop, then it's going to be bad. But it may be that, like, the other question is, when do they stop pumping that money in? If the dev cycle is 3 years, they could stop now, and assuming that the market's going to reach that point in a shorter time. I don't know.
And a lot of the things we saw on Monday that we've seen over the past years, I would agree that what we saw last year felt very bootstrapped at the
You mean
launch.
launch titles?
Launch titles felt very much like they threw money at the wall, and a lot of developers took that money and made things, yes, exclusive, and a lot of the games were bot exclusives, bot timed exclusives, but a lot of the even from the ground up paid for by Oculus, one didn't pay off in time, whereas gamepad games are coming out near the end of the way outside the launch window, like Landfall, and two, maybe just didn't need to be in VR. And it was just a exclusive game that was paid for development. And I'm happy for developers to get money and experiment. They're getting paid to experiment in VR, but it is such a new platform that it's going to be the second generation, third generation of these titles where we're going to see fully fleshed out games that really take advantage of what VR has to offer.
It doesn't have its killer app yet.
How long are they going to keep making gamepad games?
I think they're going to, just like some of their games, their funding are made for Gear VR because they want to populate that. I think they're going to continue funding gamepad games because as long as they sell SKUs separately.
But I mean, when the controllers are $100, it's a little bit harder to say, hey, you have to have a game, you have to have controller. It's a little bit easier to say, hey, you have to have touch to play this game.
Depends on the game, right? While there is even parity between gamepad and Oculus Touch buttons, you can play a game like Ultra Wings with a gamepad, or you can play it with the touch controllers. There are some simulator games that could work better with a gamepad. So I think it depends on the game.
No doubt, yeah.
I disagree with you, Norm. I think that they're probably going to stop pushing gamepad games this year. It seems like every Rift game we saw at the Oculus Day was touch enabled. And you're right, some games play better with gamepad, that flight games, for instance, but I think that the cost difference is so small now, adding the touch onto the Rift. And Nate kind of implied that there's still two separate SKUs because that's what everyone has in their stock right now. They're moving towards a bundled SKU. I wouldn't be surprised if touch just becomes default.
When was the last time you played a gamepad game?
Well, like this, what was it? Flight Wings touch? What is
Ultra Wings.
Ultra Wings.
Also Landfall.
It plays better with a gamepad.
Yeah.
There are games that just Blaze Rush. There are games that just play better with the gamepad. But like they're not going to be the one. The killer app will not be a gamepad game.
That kind of tower defense game that came out at the end of last year, I can't remember what it's called. But
Defense Grid?
No. The one where you warp around and you can slow down time. It doesn't matter. That game I would have much rather played if I could have actually aimed the guns instead of using head aiming. Right. I don't know.
Damage Core.
Damage Core. That's it.
Yeah. Speaking of other games they funded that are now coming out, Robo Recall is out now.
Really?
It's out,
Ooh.
and Epic said Oculus spent $10 million funding that.
I don't doubt that. Just
What?
Looking at
Yeah.
the art,
That's
I mean,
amazing.
It's a shitload of
Yeah.
art.
Now, I don't know. That's unconfirmed. That is a rumor. But if it gives you a sense of what these games cost, because it's a full-blown game, but it's free for Oculus Touch owners.
I think this is a huge release. I think this is this is the first huge single-player game that is touch-enabled from Oculus that's free.
But it's just a wave-based shooter, right?
I
Or is
mean,
there
you
more to
progress
it?
through 3 different levels. And
3 different environments,
Yeah.
each with 3 different.
it's all sort of the
individual
same
levels.
city, but the gameplay is great. It's high score based, so while the game may not have, it might not be a 20-hour game, it's high score based so that you can go back and replay it and get a higher score, beat your friends' scores, and then if you beat the whole game, you play back on hard mode.
Is it as hooky as something like Geometry Wars?
I mean, it's got that. You've played it, right?
I played it for
It's
5 minutes at Oculus.
It's got a real fast gameplay loop, and it's kinetic as hell, and it has an arcadey feel. It's funny, the graphics are great, and it's perfect. I mean, it's a great single player touch game. It's got a comfort rating of comfortable, which is kind of surprising because that was the first game this past weekend or Monday that left me a little queasy because it's so fast. You're teleporting. It's got that.
Does it lerp or does it instant teleport?
It's instant teleport.
Do
I
you
want
feel
to say.
do you have a sense
Yeah, I
of
know what you
movement?
mean.
Yeah.
As I recall, it's instant.
Bullet
But
Train had lerp.
It's got this thing where you kick the analog stick and then you rotate it to choose the way that you face once you
Oh.
teleport, which is a solution to the not 360 problem, right?
I have a real hard time.
You're
with that
supposed to
stuff.
play feet planted facing forward. They said that they want to work towards a 360 solution.
Do they not have 360 for that game now?
Only in a sense that they don't tell you where the third, what direction is front. They
Okay.
do tell you what direction is front because they want you to always be facing physically
They have the
front.
Is the carrot on the ground a Steam VR thing or is it an Oculus thing? Like the little triangle? That
It
points where
depends on
you're-
the games.
Okay.
But when you mean lerp, you mean interpolation. So
No, lerp. I mean it's a linear acceleration.
it's
RP,
short for
whatever.
interpolation for developers, though.
Yeah, you guys mean the same thing.
Yeah, we mean the same thing. So this is like a game like Mage's Tale where when you teleport, you have that very short animation and it's always the same amount of time, but you see the frames where you
They're usually
lump-
like 6.
jump
It's
forward.
usually fewer than 6 or 7 frames.
It's 150 milliseconds
Right.
is what developers have
Well,
discovered.
in the
are
case of
limit.
Mage's Tale, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we did a 7 millisecond lerp in the first preview of the Foo Show last year, and found we were testing on people, experimented on different teleports in the first part of the show and the second part of the show. Even with a sub 150 millisecond, some people like a high single digit percentage of people reported that they felt bad
With shorter then?
with a 6 millisecond leap.
Well, that's the thing that I think developers have found. As we were
Sorry,
told,
a 6 or 7 frame leap.
if it's higher than 150, then it's too long.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And if it's shorter, then you don't get the benefits of the.
So you could detect that motion is there.
Mm-hmm.
It's 6 milliseconds a frame times, I think 7. We did 7 or 8 frames. I can't remember. We ended up taking it out of one of the first batches because it made people uncomfortable. There's no reason to make people uncomfortable.
It's a scary thing. Like you want to you don't want to make people sick, but you also want to make the most immersing, interesting experience possible.
Well, you want them to know where they are. You want them to have room awareness and not be facing the wall.
Yeah.
So we ended up just like the thing that we did was just do instant teleports and face them toward the most interesting thing in the room. But I mean that doesn't necessarily work in a shooty bang bang game.
Yep. Do we want to talk about some of the games that we
Yes.
played at this Oculus event?
Yes.
We lightly touched on them. The big game I think is From Other Suns.
Yeah. I'm not about the title, Norm, but
I'm not. They got to change the
From
name.
Mother Sons?
From Other Suns.
Yeah.
I keep it's a terrible title. So, Gunfire Games. Change it to something else.
we like the game though.
Love the game.
We kept thinking about it after we played it. So it's a roguelike, where if you finish the campaign, it's about 5 hours. But roguelike meaning permanent death and randomly generated levels. So 3-player, potentially multiplayer on a spaceship, sci-fi game.
Okay.
And you can each man different stations around the spaceship and command your AIs to perform other,
FTL.
Yeah, it's very much
sounds good.
FTL based.
And is it first person or is it top down?
First person.
It's first person.
Okay.
And it has an interesting solution to the comfort control too. One, you can opt for moving through the world, not rotational, but at least moving
with a
forward through the
gamepad?
world where you float. Yeah, gamepad.
Well, not the
Or the stick?
the stick.
Thank you. It's
Yeah.
touch enabled.
Thumbstick, yeah.
Yeah, and but if you opt into the comfort mode, what you do is as soon as you start moving, you switch from a first-person view, your camera stays stationary, and you have a third-person view of your character who walks through the world, and you control them. Like,
that's a good solution.
like Alone in the Dark,
Yeah.
right? And then once you stop, you
Snap
instantly
back in.
warp to that perspective. And what I like about that is that it solves the problem of moving teleportation breaking the gameplay mechanics, because you now actually have to abide by the time it takes to walk someplace.
So I've had a lot of conversations this week already with people who have been. Everybody's experimenting with movement.
Yeah.
And things like the thing that we saw in Lost Echo or Lone Echo.
Lone Echo.
Lone Echo.
Grabbing.
Where you don't where you let the player control rotational movement with their head and you do grabbing to do the rest of it. Like, people are figuring out a lot of really novel solutions and have really figured out where the edges are on discomfort. And then that's a really good one. I've not seen
The
that
problem with it, though, is that if you walk backwards, you can't
Yeah.
see yourself.
Yeah. Because your camera angle doesn't move to the corner of the room, real Alone in the
Well,
Dark
you'd think
style.
they just do like an isometric top-down FTL
That's what I was
thing.
thinking.
Yeah.
I was
Change
hoping
the
for like
perspective.
warping you to a overhead view,
Yeah.
but it just feels like a literal out-of-body experience where your physical avatar body just walks in front of you.
Game's not done.
See,
Game's
I
not
want Supreme Commander kind of zoom up,
Well, then you need to
block back
lerp
into-
up there.
yeah, lerp up to the sky.
But then you give the player too much perspective on the battlefield, too.
well, that's probably true. But you can fog
that.
a war that.
I suppose.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. I think that could be a great way to adapt a game like Fallout to VR.
I'm really interested to see what Bethesda's doing with those 2 VR ports.
'Cause those RPGs,
nobody's seen them that I'm aware
Right, a
of.
lot you can't cheat the teleport because getting
Travel time matters.
Travel time matters, and not
Yeah.
only travel time, but a field of view for enemies. But they're also designed when you're inside a building where you need to get to a certain access panel. Like, I would love to have that pulling out an RPG to a third person.
When you think about that for Doom, and how is Doom going to work?
Yeah, I don't know how Doom, because that needs to be fast paced.
Yeah.
But apparently that's going to feel like a different game. I mean, I don't
Is that what I don't know anybody who's played that.
I don't think they're playing through the same game levels as the original release.
We'll see.
Yeah.
All right, we are running out of time. There's so much more to talk about. There's a whole other half of GDC that we haven't been to that we're going to have to talk about next week. We're seeing a lot of the Vive demos tomorrow when we go back. But let's quickly jump to what we've been testing. Testing this week. Hey, what have you guys been testing?
It's very Allman Brothers, that one.
Yeah, right. You're my blue sky.
Yeah.
I got some breaking news about Star Trek.
Is it out yet?
No.
It's been
Is it
delayed
delayed?
again.
What?
Apparently, remember we talked about a couple weeks ago that DS9 was never going to be turned to HD
Yeah.
because it was the TNG experiment was too expensive. They didn't sell enough TNG Blu-ray discs to make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
We as fans got
Say
the
it.
benefits. It's
Say
not.
it.
Sorry,
Oh.
it's not going to happen. But
Voyager.
Adam and Voyager, definitely not Voyager, because Voyager the most CG effects that they need to recomposite and redo. Adam Nimoy, who's directing the, he directed the
Spock documentary.
Spock documentary.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
right,
Spock.
based on his father.
I backed it.
He revealed that he and former DS9 showrunner Ira Steven Behr are in talks with CBS to acquire the original negatives for select episodes of DS9 so they can rescan them themselves.
Yeah.
Oh, that's basic. That's
And
all you
redo.
want.
Under the Pale Moonlight.
Dominion
Just
War.
select episodes. Yeah.
Those are the 2 I've seen.
Okay.
Nothing involving that lounge.
Vic Fontaine?
Vic Fontaine. No.
Okay, what have you guys been testing? You guys want to talk about Rec Room?
Yeah, well, we all tested this last night.
We played the Rec Room Quest.
Now, we've been in Rec Room before. Rec Room is a standalone free app for VR users of both platforms, Rift or Vive, I guess. Is it on PSVR? Who knows? But it's an excellent app. If you have a VR headset, it's free. You got to check it out. And you jump into what is basically a tiny little metaverse with a bunch of other characters in a dorm room. There's like this lobby area, and then you can form up parties and go off and play games together. There's been frisbee golf for a while. There's paintball, but the most recently added game is a Quest, and it's an RPG that is makes a lot of really smart decisions about how to make a RPG on a very limited budget.
set in a high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's monsters that shoot things.
So you
chase
enter the theater because it's like it's like a bunch of thespians that put this together for you, and you form a party of 4 people, and then you choose a bow or a sword and shield, and then you progress, and it's permanent. No, it's not permanent death, but if you all die, the game's over.
Yeah.
And you can revive players if they get hit or eaten. You give them a high five, and they come back to life. And you basically you try to get through this game, and it's not easy. We played it how many times last night?
3. Well, we
4
played
or
with
5.
Will
3 times.
3 times, and then before that we were playing another 3 rounds.
And we keep getting farther and farther, but we have not hit the ending yet.
Well, it's basically horde mode rules, but you move through the world instead of just waiting for everybody to come at you.
but
it's an MMO. It's a
yeah.
It's a dungeon.
It's
crawl.
a dungeon crawl
Yeah.
through an MMO.
I don't know. We're a pretty solid team. I think my 3-point level last night really showcased the strength
Yeah,
that we all have.
I mean, look, I don't want. It's not worth pointing fingers or laying blame, but everybody else had low 4 figures, and one person had 3 points.
I just want to make the point that this game, the enemies in this game have 10 polygons, and they have 2 frames of animation, and they roll around the world like Daleks.
They dangle on ropes.
And
Yeah.
they come out of the ceiling dangling
They're
on
fun.
ropes. But that is a
fun.
great decision because it makes it feel like a high school production.
When it's not
But
scary.
it might be low budget, but it is some of the most fun I've had in VR. Period. Playing a multiplayer experience where we're dying and reviving one another, and trying to beat these cardboard bad guys is fantastic.
So the funny part about it is I love the quests and the mini games. The social VR component of Rec Room is not my favorite.
Your doorbell just went, Norm.
Yeah, I know.
You mean like what happens out in the
Like just
lobby?
hanging out and meeting
It's-
randos. And
No.
That used to be okay, and it's gotten really bad lately.
It did.
I thought that it was bad because PSVR, but there's no PSVR version yet. I played UB's Werewolf game a few weeks ago, and had 1 or 2 really amazing experiences, and then some really, really horrible ones, because like there was one particular player that was like in a room full of people who were really hammered, and they were being increasingly offensive, and like that's a game that doesn't work if you're not playing along.
Yeah.
It's a thing
So-
that any social VR experience is going to need some type of moderation or some type of system to allow you to have these private channels or to play with. It's any multiplayer experience is going to have these same problems, and VR we're just skimming the surface.
It's
of it.
not all bad. I have joined Rec Room, and Norm and I have gone in just as 2. We've teamed up with 2 other people, and they've been decent.
I mean, it's never. All it takes is one person to
Yeah.
poison the entire thing.
Yep.
And I think Eva Hirth, who works at VReal, maybe had a good post about how you have to design these. If you're going to build VR social spaces, you have to, because the impact of negative behavior is so much higher in VR, you have to build them from the ground up to be moderated and safe. There was a panel yesterday where they talked about using machine learning to actually measure stress in people's voices, because that's a relatively easy thing to do. And when you notice that there's 2 people that are standing next to each other talking, you can then bump them out into a separate space or separate them into different shards of the world or whatever, so that those problems go away, and it gives them like something that the machine can measure that says, oh, Jeremy yells at everybody in this game. He's just a shitbag. Put him on the shitbag server.
Yep.
And then you're forever a shitbag, which is fair.
Do I get out of the bag ever?
If you stop yelling at people, I guess. Maybe when you turn 15.
I played Psychonauts
yeah.
Rhombus
Oh.
of Ruin.
Yes.
At least the first 2 or 3 hours of it. If you like Psychonauts, big thumbs up.
Is it only
You should get
PSVR?
It is.
Okay.
But we reviewed that at the end of this week's episode of Projections, which I understand you can find on tested.com.
You can find it on our YouTube channel. Please check that out. We've gone way over for this week's episode. Next week, we're going to talk about some new tech gear I've been testing, a new Tech gimbal, and also Nintendo Switch comes out end of this week, so I'm sure we'll be talking about that
Well,
next
I have
week
one coming.
as well. Yeah. Very cool. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thanks for coming in. Good luck with the launch of the first episode of Foo.
Fingers crossed. Thank
People
you.
should check that out on Steam VR, or you can go to foovr.com.
Yeah, just search for the Foo Show on Steam and it pops right up.
The Foo Show, and you can find Will at Will Smith on Twitter. You can find Jeremy at Jerware and Kishore at Science Quiche. You can
And
find
what are you? At Norman?
at Nchan.
Nchan,
I
that's
wish.
it.
I wish. At Nchan on Twitter. This week's outro is made by
Justin, a.k.a. Speed. He's prolific.
Hi there, I didn't see you. Must be the speed.
Did you read about Elon Musk and his shovel?
No.
Shovel.
He's got a shovel, and he's digging.
Test it.